Chapter 21. The auction has started. The girl dancing passionately on the stage receded. The auction field gradually became quiet. A handsome old man with a mustache and a well-dressed dress came to the auction stage. "Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. Tonight, this auction will be hosted by me, David Scott." The host David bowed. "Then, I announce that the auction will officially begin." At this time, a glamorous girl in revealing clothes came out from behind the scenes pushing a small trolley. This scene gave Will the feeling that it was a bit like a fashion show in his previous life. On the trolley, there is a 1-meter-long glass tank. Inside the transparent glass tank, there is a puddle of clear blue water, and the clear water ripples as the cart moves forward. "What is that?" Will looked at the first auction item in surprise. Even the water was auctioned. "Sea water? But is the sea water in the tank still blue?" "That's Haegwang sand," Peel explained. "Sand?" Will looked sideways, and it was obviously water. Just when Will was puzzled, the host on the auction stage spoke. "The first auction item is from the Dom harbor of the Leto Empire, collected from 10,000 meters of seabed sea light sand." David explained with emotion. Just a handful of sea light sand is put into the bathing water, and the bathtub is sparkling with stars, like bathing in the Milky Way. Not only that, Haegwang sand can whiten skin, moisturize pores, and slow down aging, which is every woman's favorite. The starting price is 300 gold coins. "What the hell? 300 gold coins?" Will looked disdainful. "If you really want to whiten and moisturize your skin and slow down aging, why not ask a technician for a massage, take medicinal baths, adjust your diet and rest? It's the right thing to do. You don't understand this. Beautification is just an inconspicuous function attached to Haegwangsha." Pierre stared at Haegwangsha with staring eyes. Haegwangsha emits fluorescence after absorbing water, and after absorbing enough water, it will float in the air like fireflies. After the water evaporates, it will become smaller and sink to the bottom of the water, continue to absorb water and emit fluorescence, and so on. This kind of beautiful and romantic scene, there is no one woman who is not fascinated by it. 570 gold coins. With that said, Pierre also participated in the auction. 608. 702. 1001. The price has been rising steadily, and has risen to 1,000 gold coins. After 1,000 gold coins were passed, the auction hall fell silent. 1,001 gold coins. 1,001 gold coins twice. David looked around. Is there anyone else? Is there anyone who continues to quote? If not, Haegwangsha will belong to this gentleman. Pierre elbowed Will. "Will, it's rare to come to the auction house. Don't you want to buy something to go back? Don't you want to buy some gifts for Naya?" "Haegwangsha, Naya must like it too." Will Yayao nodded. "Haegwangsha is just purely beautiful." For the so-called romance, thousands of gold coins were spent, and Will was not so prodigal. "But in the future, I will give Naya a gift thousands of times greater than Haegwangsha," Will said confidently. "You're not afraid of flashing your tongue when you talk big." Pierre curled his lips. 1,001 gold coins. David paused, the third time. David's wooden hammer fell. The second auction item is also from the Dom harbor of the Litoya Empire. A glamorous girl walked onto the auction stage carrying a small plate covered with a piece of cloth. The glamorous girl lifted the cover, and on the plate was a sealed glass the size of a fist. In the cup, a transparent heart is beating. This is the heart of the sea monster. If you eat it, you have a 50% chance of becoming a great knight. David's words stirred up waves. Big knight. Only then can it be called the real powerhouse in this world. The great knight was originally a rare existence, and there was only one great knight in the entire province of Doria. Now, as long as one eats a siren heart, there is actually a 50% chance of becoming a great knight? Cavaliers are only valued by people. In the Campere family, there are a lot of knights. There are a few who are stronger than Baron Leo. And once you become a great knight, you can immediately become the distinguished guest of the Campere family, and have equal friendship with the head of the Campere family. Money, beauty, power, it's so simple. That's all. Will shook his head. The great knight, for others, is an existence that can only be looked up to in a lifetime. As for Will, even if Will doesn't exercise and eats and drinks every day, it only takes 1 year to become a great knight. But that's only for Will. With the assistance of the Blue Spirit system, Will, who is talented, hardworking, and has a superb pedigree, cannot be viewed with common sense. Such a powerful thing, only the second one? Will asked puzzled. Tisk tisk, it's still 50%. Pierre looked disdainful, only those with peak knight strength have a 50% chance to advance to a great knight. If they fail, they will die. Will fell silent. Only those with the peak strength of the knight have a 50% chance? I don't know if the Baron Leo before he broke his hand is considered the peak of the knight? And failure is death? In Moonfall City, among the people with the peak strength of knights, which one is not a high-ranking and powerful person? Even in the Campere family, they are highly valued. It's too late to enjoy life, so go eat this ghost thing? That being said, the competition for Siren Heart is strong. 9,500. 10,000. 12,000. The price climbed steadily, and finally reached an astonishing 23,000. 23,000 for the third time. Deal. David slammed down the hammer excitedly. The person who took the picture of the Siren's heart is also the person in the VIP seat. Peel stared at the VIP table for a while, and said, "It's from the Cook family. The current patriarch of the Cook family is the peak knight, but I don't know if he dares to eat. The Cook family, in Moonset City, is second only to the Campere family in terms of strength. If the patriarch of the Cook family can advance to the level of a great knight, within a few decades, the Campere family can be stabilized." But as Peel said, does he dare to eat it? A third auction item followed. The people who experienced the fierce competition for the sea monster heart watched the third auction item with intense eyes. The third auction item was displayed in front of people's eyes. It was a thick ancient book. This is the personal note of the great adventurer Wino Bra, 700 years ago, recording what he saw and heard in his 30 years of adventure. David explained. At this time, a thin and small man stood up in the auction field. "Please forgive me for being unreasonable." The thin man bowed to David. "I have heard of Kalimda, the king of adventure, I know Ammons, and I have read the books written by the great adventurer Marco. None of the adventurers in the past 1,000 years have me. I don't know him, but Wino." The skinny man sneered, "Who is Wino Bra? Have all of you heard of this adventurer? Who is Vano? Can anyone be called a great adventurer now? Ha ha! I can do it too! Ha ha ha!" There was laughter in the auction hall. "Gentlemen, girls!" David's voice echoed feebly in the auction house. Suddenly, a person stood up and raised his hand and said, "I will offer 1 silver coin to buy the manuscripts of the great adventurer Wino Bra around. I'll add a silver coin. I'll add 2 more. Don't argue with me, I'll add 5 more." Snapped. There was a loud bang. "Quiet!" David's voice suddenly suppressed the entire auction room. "The cover of this book is made of rhinoceros skin, and the pages are made of expensive wooden paper. The material alone is worth hundreds of gold coins. Moreover, the book records the experience of the adventurer Wino Bulla breaking into the magic lair many times, and records in detail the 11 kinds of monsters he has hunted and killed in the past 30 years. We have reason to suspect that Mr. Wino Bulla be a witcher." These 3 words, "Demon Hunter," swept the entire auction house at once. Everyone was stunned by this strange name. A demon hunter? A person who specializes in hunting monsters? Will also looked puzzled. The 4-armed ghost ape is just the weakest of many monsters. There are countless monsters stronger than the 4-armed ghost ape. A 4-armed ghost ape almost wiped out the Albert family. There are actually people who specialize in hunting monsters? If it is true, then this person named Wino Bra is at least as strong as a great knight, and it is not impossible for a paladin. The people in the auction house finally got serious. 300 gold coins. 400. 700. The name Demon Hunter is really too magical. Will also got involved. Are you stupid? What's the use of buying that kind of book? Peel looked at Will with strange eyes. Ignoring Peel's words, Will continues to raise the price. Will finally bought the book of the Demon Hunter Wino Bra at a high price of 5,008. Will was a little heartbroken, but he didn't regret it at all. The auction will continue. The auction items were brought up one by one, and the prices kept hitting new highs. Next is the 11th auction item. David waved his hand. An iron cage prison cart covered with gauze was pulled onto the auction block. The genuine product is finally here. Peel climbed to the window. The 2 girls were similar in appearance, one big and one small. The two extremely beautiful and lovely girls hugged each other and looked at the people at the auction pitifully. Obviously already knew his fate. The two girls have soft red hair, delicate and flawless faces, and very few pores on their bodies. The most eye-catching thing is the pair of green vertical pupils, as well as the furry tail and ears. In Peel's opinion, the appearance of a single Catwoman can already be compared with Naya, but it is a Catwoman with an exotic charm that ordinary women do not have. Chapter 22. The auction is over. The VIPs flowed away like water. Sitting on the carriage back to the city, Will was holding a heavy book with a satisfied expression on his face. If it didn't cost 5,800 gold coins, if the gold coins belonged to Bunny and the others, it would be even more perfect. Pierre, who was on the side, looked indignant. Catwoman, mother and daughter were actually bought by that old fellow Hoy, damn it. Pierre gritted his teeth and cursed Hoy. How can Hoy be your third master, right? Is it really okay to curse your family like this? Will said depressedly. Humph. That lecherous old man, why don't you just die? Pierre had absolutely no affection for Hoy. Hoy Kemper, the brother of Mr. Chapman and the third grandfather of Peel. For the underground auction in Moonfall City, since someone from the second largest family in Moonfall City has come, it is impossible for someone from the largest family not to come. And the cat girl mother and daughter who were favored by Peel were auctioned off by Hoy of the Camper family. Hoy Kemple is simply a replica of Peel, referred to as the Old Peel. In his youth, Hoy was a playboy. When he was old, he was a lecherous old man. Every year, Hoy harms several young and beautiful women. It's just that most of the women never came out after entering Hoy's yard. The horror legend about Hoy can be heard throughout Moonset City. Every young girl in Moonfall City avoided Hoy. As if someone else has robbed you of your woman, do you have any money? Will said speechlessly. It's not about money. Peel looked at Will, his eyes suddenly lit up. Will, are we good friends? Peel leans towards Will, obsequiously. Go away, it's disgusting. Will got goosebumps all over his body. I remember that Huoyi likes you very much, right? I have given you many gifts, and I have almost responded to your needs. How about doing me a favor this time? Help me get that pair of cat girls. Pierre rubbed his hands, and looked at Will fawningly. Be nice to me? Like me? Will felt amused in his heart. Perhaps, in the entire Camper castle, the one who wished Will's death the most was Hoy. If it weren't for someone who knew Hoy's secret, there would be another Edith. Otherwise, Will would have been killed by Hoy long ago. Will still remembers that winter, when Will encouraged Edith to break into Hoy's mansion, under the guise of saving the poor girl imprisoned by Hoy. That night, Will saw the most disgusting sight of his life. Thinking back on it now, it still hurts. If Edith hadn't known about it, and Hoy didn't dare to attack Edith, how could Will have survived until now? However, the reason why Will encouraged Edith to come together. Isn't it just in case? Since then, Howie has flattered Will directly and indirectly many times, just to seal Will's mouth and prevent Will from revealing the matter. It's not negotiable. Will decisively rejected Peel's request. Cut, inhumane. Peel got out of the car angrily. Will rolled up the curtains, and the lights were feasting outside. Isn't this Flower Street? Will asked. Isn't it okay for me to have diarrhea and fire? Pierre had a rascal expression on his face. Didn't you do it when you were in the auction house? Will said speechlessly. At the auction house. Regarding Peel's level of shamelessness, Will once again refreshed his understanding. It's too perverted. Sure enough, it was right not to play with this guy before. Together? No. Pierre hugged left and right, surrounded by a group of beauties, and entered the largest and most luxurious building. The carriage continued on. Will figured that there was still half an hour before returning to the city lord's mansion. Why not take this opportunity to read the book he just bought? 5,800 gold coins, just thinking about Will makes my heart ache. Tonight, Mr. Will knows what it means to spend money like water. In the auction field, there are tens of thousands of gold coins at every turn. Even if it is the cheapest item, Baron Leo's family can't afford it after selling it. Especially the 13th auction item. The sword of the 23rd king of the Cairo Empire. Rumor has it that the 23rd king is a paladin, his sword possesses unparalleled power, and he has the path to the paladin. That sword should be buried with the king. Why do swords appear in the auction house? Have no idea. Will didn't know. The auction house officials don't know either. All the guests present at the auction also didn't know. This is something I know in my heart, but I can only say that I don't know it to the outside world. Will's thoughts turned to the books in his arms. The book is big and heavy. Will estimated that the book weighed more than 10 caddies. The cover of the book is wrapped in rhinoceros hide. The workmanship is very rough, without any special attention, just like a piece of skin cut off at random. No wonder. This book is essentially just a notebook. A handy notebook to record what you have seen and heard. Of course it is convenient and easy to use. The exquisite and beautiful adventurer notes on the market have all been sorted out and revised, and the original manuscripts are probably very messy. Will opened the book from the middle. The characters are actually red, and after 700 years, they are still as red as blood. The handwriting is strong and powerful, but the shape of the characters is a bit distorted, probably because there is no table when writing. Looking at the manuscript of the legendary Witcher Wino Bra, Will frowned. Not because the knowledge in the book is meaningless, Will is disappointed. But because can't read. Will knew every word, but couldn't figure out what it meant when they were put together. Not Cairo. Not Lydian. Not Amona. It is not the common language of the three countries. The familiar yet unfamiliar symbols on the book reminded Will of a rumored text. I heard that the really important books and letters of the country are all written in this language. It is a character that every real nobleman must learn. Holy Empire. The Holy Empire was a huge country that unified the entire continent 2,000 years ago. After the collapse of the Holy Empire, after 500 years of chaotic wars, finally 1,500 years ago, the current three kingdoms of Cairo, Litua, and Amona appeared on the territory. Although the Holy Empire perished, its text has been handed down. It became a language exclusively used by the nobility. Even Viscount families like the Camper family are not qualified to know the language used. I spent 5,800 gold coins to buy a book I can't understand? The greatest irony in the world is nothing more than this. Unwillingly, Will turned a few more pages and found that they were all written in the Holy Empire script. Will turned to the first page, which was blank. I don't know why, every other page is densely written, only the first page is blank. Will found that when he stared at the first page, he actually felt dizzy. There must be a big secret here. Will continued to stare at the first page, the dizziness in his head became more and more intense, and his vision gradually blurred. When Will could not bear it anymore and wanted to give up. Suddenly, the dizziness disappeared, and the vision became extremely clear. On the blank paper, a little ink slowly appeared. The ink blots appear very, very slowly, as if someone were writing on the page. The carriage drove out of the busy city and slowly moved forward on the cold street. All around, there are only the sounds of worms, horseshoes, and grooms waving whips. Ba ba ba. While Will was concentrating on the book and waiting for the writing to be finished, someone knocked on the carriage window. Will's carriage bears the emblem of the Camper family. Under such circumstances, if someone dared to knock on the window, the other party must be not an ordinary person. But considering that it was night and it was a remote and deserted road, Will still kept his eyes open. Who is it? Will hid aside, and slowly drew the curtains. No one? The curtains were drawn, but it was pitch black outside, and only the shadows of trees receding could be seen. Maybe it's the wind. When Will thought it was an illusion and was about to close the window, a strand of long white hair floated out from the edge of the window. Is someone hiding behind? Will narrowed his eyes. Who is it? Do you know who I am? If you don't show up again, don't blame me for being rude. Will jerks the lock of hair out, giving it a tug. A pale face was drawn to him by Will. Only the face. The mouth of the face opened towards Will, getting bigger and bigger until the mouth exceeded the size of the face. Snapped. Will slammed the window shut. Plop plop plop. Will's heart was beating violently. Ba ba ba. Someone was knocking on the window again. Ba ba ba. The other party was persistent and kept knocking. First the left window, to the right window, then to the main entrance. Gradually, the beating sound was heard from the carriage up, down, left, and right. The sound became more and more urgent, like the sound of raindrops. Coachman! Will yelled. The car belonged to Peel, and the driver belonged to Peel, and Will didn't know the other's name. Will called out a few more times, but got no response. Yet the carriage continued on. The sound of wheels rolling could also be heard from directly below the carriage. I just don't know why, but the sound of horses' hoofs and coachmen's yelling are missing. Outside the car, the chirping of insects was heard, and the shaking of leaves was gone. Only the wind howled. The dense sound of beating on the carriage suddenly stopped. But the weird atmosphere still hasn't disappeared. There is no way to go on like this. Thinking of the weird face that appeared just now, Will only felt a chill. Take a deep breath. Will gently rolled up a corner of the door curtain. Through that corner, Will could see the driver's clothes. Is the coachman still there? The angle at which Will's door curtain rolled up was even wider. Finally saw the driver's face. The driver's face turned slowly towards Will. The coachman's face had long been rotten, and maggots were coming in and out of the coachman's eye sockets, nose, mouth, and ears. Wow! Ah! Will stimulated his vitality and slapped the coachman with his palm through the door curtain. The door curtain was torn apart. Will didn't feel the hit. Will's arm passes through the driver's back and emerges from the driver's chest. The coachman gave Will an odd smile. Boom! The coachman's entire body turned into countless human faces, scattered in all directions. Call! Will swayed, raised his head, and opened his eyes. Will sat in the car, holding the book, and was turning the first page. All that just now. Is it a dream? Or hallucination? On the first page of Demon Hunter Winobula's notes, a line appeared. The characters are also written in the Holy Empire language. But I don't know why. Will could understand the meaning of the line. Whoever enters this door is like falling into an abyss. Wenyo Bra. Chapter 23. As soon as he returned to the city lord's mansion, Will immediately jumped out of the carriage and rushed into the bedroom. Will's heart was beating violently, and Will couldn't hide the joy and excitement in his heart at all. Not even that precious first time with Edith had been so intense. Go back to the room and sit at the desk. Open the window, and the cold moonlight diffuses in through the window, drawing a long shadow behind Will. Will took a deep breath and opened the first page of the hunting notebook. Whoever enters this door is like falling into an abyss. Wenyo Bra. On a page that was originally blank, words really appeared. It's not a dream. Will turned to the second page. Hey? Can't understand? It seems that I just understood the meaning of the sentence on the first page for some reason, and it didn't mean I learned the Holy Empire language. But that's okay. Will had gotten what he wanted, what he had always dreamed of. Blue Spirit. The interface of the Blue Spirit system appears. On the skill bar, a new line of words appeared. Alder sign, level 0. It's finally here. Will breathed heavily. This world is not as simple as it appears on the surface. There are monsters, aliens, and monsters here. If the strongest combat power of human beings is the Great Knight or even the Paladin, it is absolutely impossible for humans to rule the world. Human beings must have some kind of power. Some kind of powerful power that is different from knights and similar to magic grudges, capable of defeating monsters of different races of Warcraft. Now, this power finally appeared in front of Will. A power called the Seal. Will clicked the plus sign behind Alder's seal. Upgrade the Sigil of Ardor, yes/no. Yes. Consumes 500 source power. If the source power is insufficient, the upgrade fails. Upgrade failed. Will smiled. 500 points? Haha, ha ha ha, it actually costs 500 points. Will couldn't help laughing out loud. What a powerful skill, it only takes 500 points of source power to upgrade from level 0 to level 1. You know, Will's night breathing method needs only 16 points of source power to upgrade from level 4 to level 5. To upgrade the night's breathing method from level 1 to level 5, the source force only used 30 points in total. It only takes 30 points of source power to strengthen a reserve knight to a great knight. The Alder seal is only from level 0 to level 1, but it needs a full 500 points. Will walked out of the room. Let me see how powerful this Alder seal is. Alder seal, through 5 madras, can release a shockwave of energy and hit the front. Although it is only level 0 now, its power is still very weak. 5 handprints, all at once. Ha! Will pointed forward. Nothing happened. Failed? Will made a madra again and released Alder's seal. Still nothing happened. Because it's level 0, so it can't be released? Shouldn't it? When I'm level 0 in swordsmanship and archery, don't use it the same way. When my night breathing technique is level 0, it can also strengthen the body. Will was puzzled. The 0 level in the Blue Spirit skill bar does not mean nothing. but just learned the meaning. Will has learned the night breathing method, and can enhance his physique by practicing the night breathing method. At this time, the night breathing method becomes level 0, and he is eligible to appear on the blue spirit skill bar. I did learn the alder seal, but why can't I release it? Will opened Lanling and took a closer look. How come only the words printed by Alder Fa are grey? Will pondered for a while, and a guess appeared in his heart. Since the skill of Alder's seal has the word Fa, does it require mana when the skill is released? And I don't have mana now, so even if I learn the skill, I can't release it? Will thought about it, and felt that his guess made sense. But where can I get mana? Will was in a dilemma. I can't help but think about it hard. Go to sleep first, and check in the library of the Campere family tomorrow to see if there are any clues. Will went back into the room. I don't know when. There is already a person standing by the desk. A man in a black windbreaker, with a strong body, messy hair and an eye patch on his left eye. Who are you? Will asked warily. The man didn't answer Will's words immediately, but picked up Will's Witcher notes on the table and opened them carefully. Have you been inspired by others? The man said to himself. Seeing the man ignoring him, Will felt annoyed, but became more and more afraid. While the man was in a daze, Will took out the long sword forged from Varian steel that Mr. Chapman gave him today from the house. Will felt more at ease. A third-class apprentice can actually engrave the pattern of the seal? But it's still too immature. The man put the book under his arm and walked towards the door. The man brushes past Will. The man seemed unaware of Will's presence. Stop! Clang! Will drew his long sword. Have you noticed me? The man turned his head in surprise, and looked at Will carefully. Did you activate the seal pattern? Your mental strength is good. Who are you? Will was relieved to see that the other party was willing to talk. I am a demon hunter, you can call me Rip. Rip smiled gently at Will. This book is too dangerous for you, this time you can get rid of the illusion in the book, I won't be so lucky next time. What is spiritual power? What is the seal? Rip's appearance made Will encounter a key to open the unknown world. But is Rip really willing to tell Will? Will wasn't sure. So Will remained vigilant. You want to know? Rip's smile was so deep. That's right. Will nodded with firm eyes. You know, you can't turn back. Rip said seriously, let me introduce myself again, it's the first time we meet, my name is Rep Otter, a passing demon hunter. The moment he heard the word demon hunter, Will was so excited that his blood was about to boil. But Will still retains a bit of sanity. Knowing to make a good impression on Rip. I'm Will Albert, the third son of Baron Leo of the Albert family in Lund Town, and the future heir to the Baron. Will saluted Rip. What do you want to know? Rip smiled. What is a demon hunter? What is the power of a demon hunter? How can I get the power of a demon hunter? Will stared at Rip with golden eyes. Through Alder's seal, Will already knew that the power system of the demon hunter and the knight were not in the same system at all. Demon hunters definitely don't rely on vitality to fight. Demon hunters are a group of people who study monsters and have magical powers. Rep explained. Monsters really have magic power? Will asked in surprise. Although the four-armed ghost ape that Will met was powerful and physically tyrannical, he didn't see any magic power. Magic power is not what you imagined. Rep stretched out a finger to Will. How about I fight you with one finger? Will's strength is also at the upper middle level among knights. Now with the long sword forged from Varian steel, Will is confident of defeating Neeson head-on. And Rep actually said to use only one finger? Even if Rep was a great knight, he would not dare to speak like that. Will calmed down, don't blame me for accidentally hurting you. You can try it. Rep was still full of confidence. Will instantly stimulated the vitality of his whole body. Will, glowing white all over, rushed towards Rip. Knight strength? Rep looked at Will in surprise, but Rep's movements did not change. Will's sword meets Rip's fingers. The sword, blocked by a finger. Impossible. Will couldn't believe it. But no matter how hard Will tried, the sword couldn't advance an inch. Will gritted his teeth, constantly stimulating his vitality, and his hands were bruised. Rep flexed his fingers slightly and bounced them up. Click. Cracks appeared on the blade. Sword. Broken. Will stared at broken sword with a pale face. Will couldn't believe that his 15 years of hard work were so fragile. No need to be disappointed. Rep patted Will on the shoulder. Your strength is indeed beyond my imagination. Still weak though, isn't it? Will bowed his head. Did your sword really cut on my finger? Was it really broken by my finger? Rep said mysteriously. Illusion? Will was taken aback. Will remembered the scene in the carriage. Mental strength? Magic? Demon hunter? Will suddenly knelt down to Lipu and begged, Master Lipu, please teach me how to become a demon hunter. Saying that, Will kowtowed to Rep. Rep helped Will up. Your mental strength and physique are quite strong, and you have the qualifications to become a demon hunter, but... Just what? Will demanded. After becoming a demon hunter, unless you become a third-level demon hunter, you can only live to be 30 years old. Lei Pu said in a low voice. 30? Will didn't expect such a restriction. Is it difficult to become a third-level demon hunter? Difficult, very difficult, only 1 in 10 chance. Rep's eyes were deep. I am willing. Will thought for a few seconds, and quickly agreed. Will felt that everyone else had a 1/10 chance, and since he had the blue spirit system, the odds should be even greater. After finally meeting the demon hunter, Lipe, he seemed to be the easy-talking kind, but he would not be so lucky next time. If you don't seize the opportunity quickly, you may never meet again in this lifetime. Are you sure? Rep didn't expect Will to agree so quickly. Sure. Will nodded with firm eyes. Rip hesitated, then took a bottle from his coat. There is a bottle of dark green liquid in the bottle. This is the black stock solution. The way to use it is to drop it into a bowl of water and drink it. Rep stuffed the bottle into Will's hand. If you can finish drinking this bottle of black stock solution within a month, I can recommend you to enter Gelos Potion Academy. Will gripped the bottle tightly. I'll come to you again in a month. Remember, either don't drink it, or drink it, and you must finish it. Otherwise, you will die. Lei Pu's figure gradually blurred and distorted and disappeared. Will looked around, and there was no trace of Rep. Only the missing notes, the broken long sword, and the black stock solution in his hand told Will that a demon hunter named Rep had come. Chapter 24. Late at night. The stars are twinkling and the stars are dense. Will jumped up from the bed, came to the desk, opened the drawer, and took out a glass tube the thickness of a finger. In the glass tube, the black-green liquid attracted Will's attention. Originally, Will planned to have a good night's rest tonight, to recharge his batteries, and to study the black stock solution that Lipu gave him tomorrow. Unfortunately, Will still overestimated his patience. Will licked his lips. Drink? Don't drink? The doubts in my mind just flashed by. Will has already made up his mind. The power is right in front of you, once you let it go, you may never have another chance. Originally, Will was a cautious person. Even if he lived a mediocre life, Will would not gamble his life on someone he only met once. But Will heard about Gerald Potion's Academy from Rep. This academy should be an academy that trains and teaches demon hunters, a mysterious and powerful academy. This reminded Will of the Loria Alliance Academy, which was founded by the 3 countries and was also mysterious and powerful, where Edith, his childhood sweetheart, went. Is it possible that the Jalo School of Potions and the Loria Union School are both related to the demon hunter? Once the seeds of suspicion are planted, they can no longer be suppressed. Since there are demon hunters in this world, this kind of power far exceeds that of knights, the country can't know about it. The only possibility is that the country has concealed it. Will poured a bowl of water. Pull out the stopper of the glass tube, and pour a drop of thick dark green mucus into the bowl. The black stock solution melts in water. It was like pouring ink into clear water, and the bowl of clear water turned dark green. Looking at the liquid exuding an ominous color, Will solemnly picked up the bowl with both hands, lifted it up, and gulped it down. Gilu! The liquid is like a loach. It slid down Will's throat in one fell swoop, not a single drop remained. As soon as the black liquid entered the stomach, a nauseating feeling immediately spread from the stomach to the whole body. Wow! Will suddenly felt a sharp pain in his stomach. It seems that there are thousands of snakes coiling and biting in the abdomen. Will covered his hands with his hands and knelt down in pain, making hoarse and ugly sounds from his mouth. Will curled up on the ground, his body hugged into a ball, and he was sweating constantly. Boom boom boom. The heart contracted and contracted. It was as if the heart was being held tightly by someone, and every time it beat, it was accompanied by severe pain. Will bit his lip hard, swallowing the scream that came to his mouth. Diddy diddy. Time passed by every minute and every second. It could be for a long time, or it could be for a moment. The pain is gone. Will relaxed. The water gates all over his body seemed to be opened, and he was sweating profusely. A puddle of salt water appeared under Will. Will was completely exhausted, and just half an hour of torture made Will lose a lot of weight. Only. This is not just pain. I feel that my body has become stronger. If every time I drink the black stock solution, I can reach the level of a great knight. But in Will's heart not happy. Although the effect of the black stock solution is extremely powerful, the sequelae are equally serious. It's not just about simply enduring the pain. Will now feels as if a needle has been inserted into his heart, and every beat of the heart is accompanied by a faint tingling pain. Tear up. Will tore the shirt off his chest. On the heart part of the chest, there appeared a net-like, dark green pattern like the emergence of blood vessels. The black stock solution is a kind of poison, a poison that can strengthen the body. Will realized something: every time you drink the black stock solution, the body will accumulate a layer of toxins. If you stop now, maybe you can still use it. Detoxification by conventional methods. If you continue to drink the black stock solution, after 3 or 4 times, there is no cure. I can only pray for the antidote in Rep's hands. Will glanced at the test tube containing the black stock solution that Rep gave him. After pouring a drop of the black stock solution, there was more than half of it in it. Conservatively, there are 8 or 9 drops in it. The severe pain associated with drinking the black stock solution can be tolerated as long as the will is a little stronger. But with the number of drinks, toxins accumulate again and again. And somewhere, who might have an antidote, who might have other plans. This kind of desperation that knows the result, but still walks towards death step by step, is the most tormenting. I have no turning back. Will put away the black stock solution, changed his clothes, fell on the bed exhausted, and fell asleep. Early the next morning, 3 maids rushed into the room in full dress. After taking Will to wash up, he began to put a dress on Will and put on makeup. After everything was dressed, 3 hours had passed. Will finally found out today that it turns out that men put on makeup no faster than women. Then, surrounded by a dozen servants, Will walked towards the hall of the Santos mansion. Will came to the Campere family, not to visit relatives, not to play, not to participate in the auction, but to propose marriage. Yesterday, I got the acknowledgement from Mr. Chapman. This is only the first step. Next, it is announced to the whole family. In the future, there will still be more procedures for gift giving, communication, engagement, and marriage. Step by step, it will take at least a year before they can officially get married. Now, take the second step. Propose. Will propose marriage to the Patriarch of Campere and Naya at the family meeting in Campere. Of course, this is just a formality. But don't underestimate this form. Although I have already agreed in my heart, the Patriarch may have promised, but on the scene, it is impossible for you to say it, and the other party will immediately agree, and some tests need to be done. Test your integrity, your ability. Coming to the hall, the main figures of the Campere family were all gathered together. Mr. Chapman took the main seat. Although the title of baronet had passed to his son Carlo, the head of the Campere family was still Chapman. On both sides of the main seat, on the left sits Carlo, the second member of the Campere family, and on the right, sits today's protagonist, Naya Campere. Today, Naya is wearing a short-sleeved white shirt, a pink plaid skirt, and a pair of silk moccasin boots. Naya exudes a cute princess style. Will winked at Naya. When Naya saw Will, she smiled and was about to jump up to say hello. But then his body froze, the smile on his face disappeared, he puffed his cheeks, snorted coldly, and pretended to be "I don't want to talk to you." Next, is to go through the process. Will greeted the members of the Campere family one by one, and then knelt down to propose marriage. On the main seat, Mr. Chapman showed a hesitant look. At this time, a young man in his early 20s stood up from the seats on both sides of the aisle. "Want to marry my sister? It depends on whether you are qualified." Naya's brother came out. "Father is not here today, let me test you." Saying that, 2 maids took swords and walked onto the field. Clang! Naya's brother drew out one of the swords and pointed the tip at Will. "Do you dare to accept my challenge?" Will's face was serious. "Since Brother Roy has said so, I will naturally accept it." Roy Kemple, the eldest son of the third uncle, and the eldest brother of Naya. 21 years old this year, he officially became a quasi-knight 2 years ago. Due to his limited talent and his lack of development in the direction of knighthood, Roy's strength is still at the same level as when he first entered the ranks of knights. The two faced each other with swords in hand. Will attacked first, and Will's powerful sword skills suppressed Roy at once. After 20 strokes, Roy conceded. Neither side tried their best, neither side exploded their vitality, nor did they even use too much power, they were just comparing their sword skills purely. Roy, who failed, showed an unwilling expression, and ran to a young man about his age. "Gert, you have to avenge me." Roy dragged the reluctant Gert off the stage. "Nia will never be snatched by this kid, you must defeat him." Gert, Will's cousin, Roy's best friend. The strength is stronger than Gert, but it is also limited. Gert took Roy's sword with a wry smile, and jumped off the field. "Please, my subordinates. I will not show mercy. Nia will never give it to you." This time, Gert charged at Will from the start. Holding the sword in both hands, he slashed heavily. Will's face changed slightly, and he thought to himself, Gert is relatively taciturn and serious in his work, maybe he will do a real job? The two swords intersected, and Gert's sword flew out at once. Gert knelt down clutching his chest, staring at Will unwillingly. You, vomit, vomit." It's a pity that Gert vomited for a long time, but there was still no blood at all. The acting skills are too exaggerated, right? Will was speechless. Roy came over and dragged the disgraced Gert away. A muscular young man jumped in, and the young man pointed a sword at Will angrily. "How dare you? How dare you kill Gert? I can't spare you." As he spoke, the man raised his sword and rushed towards Will. Will felt depressed. Where is all this acting out? Will glanced around, and found that the people around him were smiling and pointing at him, without any sense of tension or ceremony solemnity, as if they were watching a monkey show. If it wasn't for Nia, Will wouldn't have participated in this stupid farce at all. This scenario was repeated several times. When Will couldn't help but yawn, a high-profile person stood up. Seth Campere, the first person of the younger generation of the Campere family. He became a quasi-knight at the age of 15, a knight at the age of 19, and now at the age of 20, his strength is also in the middle of the knights. It wouldn't be hard to beat Seth if Will tried his best. But Seth was clearly the finale. At this time, generally speaking, the proposer will lose the battle, and the winner will encourage the loser a few words, and then enter the next process. Will and Seth's fight. Neither side exploded with vitality. All fighting with sheer physical fitness and swordsmanship. Will's level 5 swordsmanship crushes Seth. And the body. If it was yesterday, before drinking the black stock solution, Will's physical fitness was comparable to Seth's. But after being strengthened by the black stock solution, Will's body became stronger again, and he was already above Seth. After a hard fight, Will took the initiative to admit defeat. "Your strength is good. You will hone it well in the future. Your strength is not inferior to mine." Seth returned to his seat after saying something polite. "The test is over." Will knelt down to Mr. Chapman. "Will, we have all seen your sincerity and strength. Your marriage proposal this time." Mr. Chapman turned to look at Nia. "Nia, what do you think of Will?" Nia sneaked a few glances at Will, her eyes rolling around. Will watched Nia nervously, and Will was worried that Nia would suddenly have a childlike innocence, so he refused, which would be funny. In fact, asking Nia for his opinion was just Mr. Chapman's temporary idea. Regarding the marriage with Will, it must have been communicated with Nia beforehand, and Nia must have agreed. Nia stared blankly at Will, her cheeks became more and more red, and finally she spoke in a mosquito-like voice. "I would." Chapter 25. In the hall, there was thunderous applause. People offered their blessings to Will and Nia one after another. Will stepped forward, held the shy Nia's hand, and kissed Nia's red lips lightly. Will enjoyed everyone's blessing. My lord, my lord." A rush of footsteps came from outside. A panicked Haywood ran in from the door. Viscount Carlo stared at Haywood with an ugly expression, tapping his fingers aggressively on the table. Viscount Carlo said to Haywood in a deep voice, "Haywood, what's the matter?" Haywood actually dared to barge into the family meeting of the Campere family. If he didn't give a reasonable explanation, Haywood's end would be very miserable. Haywood quickly knelt down and said out of breath, "My lord, I didn't mean to offend, it's just outside." Suddenly, there was a roar of horses outside. Appeal to. The galloping fast horse was quickly pulled back outside the door. Mr. Chapman sat on the main seat, his eyes were cold. How many years, no one dared to be so arrogant in the Campere house. Outside the door, a handsome blonde-haired guy led two attendants with extraordinary temperament, striding in. As soon as the blonde man entered the hall, he immediately saluted Mr. Chapman as a nobleman. Master Chapman, Corey O'Gary of the O'Garley family sends you his highest regards. The blonde man named Corey was extremely arrogant. He entered the hall and faced dozens of members of the Campere family, including Viscount Carlo, but only Mr. Chapman was in Corey's eyes. Mr. Chapman's face was extremely ugly. But he didn't say anything. Mr. Chapman is not such a gentle and kind person. When he was young, Mr. Chapman was dubbed the Iron Viscount. If one is deceived by the gentle appearance of the current Mr. Chapman, the consequences will be extremely dire. But in the face of Corey O'Garley's offence, Mr. Chapman said nothing. When Will was extremely confused, Naya's brother Roy explained to Will, the O'Garley family is a branch of the Earl Garley family. Above our family. That arrogant guy named Corey became an official knight a year ago at the age of 18. He is the first member of the younger generation of the O'Garley family, the default future patriarch and viscount, and his status in the O'Garley family is just like that of our family's big brother Seth. Roy's explanation made Will understand the amazing identity of the blonde man Corey. It's just that I don't know what's going on with the Campere family, the default heir of the second largest family in the province of Doria, who came to a remote place alone with a few entourages. So much so that he couldn't even make an announcement, and rode straight into the conference hall? There must be something extremely urgent. Everyone thinks so. But Corey O'Gary himself shattered that thinking for everyone in the room. After Corey greeted Mr. Chapman, his eyes rolled around. After seeing Naya standing next to Will, Corey's eyes lit up, and he quickly walked towards Naya, pushing Will away. Corey got down on one knee to Naya and took out a small delicate box. Miss Naya, I have admired you for a long time, please marry me. Corey opened the box, and there was a beautiful ring with a blue gem lying quietly in the box. Seeing Corey's actions as if no one was there, Mr. Chapman's hands were bruised. Mr. Chapman gave Carlo a look. Uncle Carlo understood Mr. Chapman's meaning and walked towards Corey. A figure stood in front of Uncle Carlo. It was one of the two people accompanying Corey, a middle-aged man with a tall skeleton, a thin body, and sunken eyes. Master Carlo, let's not interfere with young people's affairs. Carlo's eyes turned cold. It's fine for Corey to be the heir of the O'Garley family. How dare a small servant stand in front of him now? Carlo's body flickered with white light. Carlo has already made up his mind to kill this person. Unexpectedly, the opponent took a step ahead of Carlo, and put his right hand on Carlo's shoulder like a ghost. Carlo's figure paused, and his feet sank to the ground. Carlo gritted his teeth and puffed out, but until Carlo's cheeks were red like blood, his body still couldn't move an inch. The strength of Will's second uncle, Viscount Carlo, was only a little weaker than when Baron Leo was completely victorious. But in front of this person, there is no strength to resist. Carlo was discouraged, and looked at the other party in shock. Are you known as the strongest knight in the province of Doria, Shalo, the apprentice of the great knight Paul? In the entire province of Doria, there is only one great knight Paul. And the middle-aged man in front of him is the strongest disciple of the great knight Paul, Shalo, who claims to be able to advance to the great knight at any time. After knowing the other party's identity, Carlo no longer dared to act rashly. He could only quietly watch the development of the situation. The other members of the Campere family on one side, seeing that even Viscount Carlo was restrained by the other party, were even more afraid to move. Corey still knelt in front of Naya. The sapphire ring in the box exudes soft light. This kind of gemstone is called the Heart of Sea Blue, and a small one is worth tens of thousands of gold coins. After being processed into a ring with other expensive materials, the price has doubled even more. Corey stared at Naya's pupils obsessively, with a faint confident smile on his face. Whether it's the expensive and beautiful Heart of Sea Blue ring, or Corey's handsome appearance, powerful strength, or his noble status as the heir of the O'Garley family, Corey believed that no girl could refuse him. Naya looked at Corey nervously, with her fingers twisted together, her eyes flustered, and she stood there bewildered. Will stepped forward, pulled Naya behind him, and said in a cold tone, "Sorry, you're late, just a minute ago, Naya became my fiancée." For this man who suddenly appeared and pursued his wife, Will was filled with disgust. Naya hid behind Will, and after listening to Will's words, her petite head kept nodding like a chicken pecking at rice. Corey stood up, his eyes fixed on Will. From the moment he came in, apart from Mr. Chapman and Nia, Corey finally looked at people for the third time. "You are Will?" Corey's words contained an infinite chill. "It feels like it's not just because Will is a rival in love. If you have nothing else to do, my wife and I will go down to rest first." Saying that, without waiting for Corey to respond, Will pulled Nia towards the door. Corey's body flashed and stood in front of Will. "Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Afraid of your wife being robbed? Worried that you can't beat me?" Corey challenged Will. Corey raised his hand. Outside the door, more than a dozen attendants walked in carrying boxes one by one. Clap clap. 11 boxes fell. Box after box was opened. In the box, there are pearly jewels, expensive and rare medicinal materials, and beautiful clothes. The price of each box is no lower than the heart of sea blue ring. With the box opened, there were exclamations one after another around, especially the girls, who stared at Corey with staring eyes. Some people are already envious of Nia. Compared with Corey, Will is a world apart. Many people felt that if they were in Nia's position, they would have already kicked Will away and fell into Corey's arms. "Miss Nia, please accept my love for you." Corey stared at Nia with fiery eyes but polite. "Nia." Will tugged on Nia lightly. Nia finally looked away from the jeweled clothes Corey had brought. After all, Nia is just a little girl in her early 10 years old. It is normal to like beautiful jewel clothes, but Will believes in Nia. Sure enough, Nia resolutely refused to Corey. "I'm brother Will's fiancé now, I can't promise you." Corey's eyes froze. Nia was startled by Corey, and quickly fled behind Will and hid. "Will." Corey stared at Will angrily. Will looked back, not to be outdone. The Ogre family is indeed powerful, but Will is not afraid at all. In just a few days, Will's strength will reach the level of a great knight. A strong man at the level of a great knight, even the Giali family, must be in awe of 3 points, and even afraid of a mere Corey. If it really angered Will would not mind rushing to the Ogre family, using blood and fire to tell them what a real strong man is. "Master Corey, the farce is over." Mr. Chapman ordered Corey to evict the guests. Corey's eyes were fixed on Will, his clenched fists crackling. 5 months ago, Edith and her group passed by the territory of the Ogre family and rested in the Ogre family for a month. Corey, fascinated by Edith's beauty. Because the Ogre family also has a little understanding of the true identity and destination of Edith and her party, so they also support Corey. As a result, Corey launched a fierce offensive against Edith. The lustful Corey broke off all ties with all his lovers for the sake of Edith. But Edith was unmoved. All of Corey's confessions were rejected by Edith. "All I got was one sentence: you are a good man, let's be friends." A month later, before Edith left, she asked Corey to take care of her younger sister, Nia, if she had the chance. "And please Corey to send Will a message, if you will wait 10 years for me." Hee. Corey sneered. Corey felt worthless for Edith. "I'm afraid Edith never thought that the two people she loves the most betrayed her in less than half a year, right? Another 10 years? This guy named Will couldn't even wait half a year." Corey looked at Nia with fiery eyes, and secretly made up his mind: Will must die, and Nia must be mine. Corey already vaguely knew from his family what kind of place Edith's Lorelei Union Academy was. Although what to learn specifically, Corey doesn't know. But Corey knows that it is not easy for those who can enter the Raleigh Alliance Academy. Every student graduating from the Lorelei Alliance Academy is no less powerful than the great Knight Paul. Whether it's for yourself or your family, you must get Nia. Nia is Edith's younger sister, one of the people Edith cares about the most. As long as I become Nia's husband, will Edith's power be used by me in the future? Corey's heart is filled with huge ambitions. If I get the help of someone who is stronger than Paul's great knight, I might be able to bring the Ogre family, replace the Giali family, and rule the province of Doria. Corey absolutely does not allow others to snatch Nia away. Nia is mine. Will and Corey's eyes met. Sparks flew. Chapter 26. I am the heir of the Ogre family. I became a quasi-knight at the age of 14 and became a knight at the age of 18. I am far above you in terms of family background, pedigree, and talent. Corey looked at Will arrogantly. Oh. Will yawned. Corey raised his eyebrows. I can give Nia a better life and a brighter future. If you really love Naya, you should recognize the gap between yourself and me, choose to leave by yourself, and don't force me to make a move. Hee. Will sneered. Court death. Cory Han drew his sword out of its sheath, pointing at Will. Suddenly, there was a sound of drawing swords around. The guards of the Camper family surrounded a group of people in Cory. Carol, see off. Mr. Chapman issued an expulsion order directly. It is true that Mr. Chapman dare not hurt Cory, but it is still possible to drive Cory out of the Santos mansion. Will, do you dare to compete with me? Cory said angrily to Will as he was about to be kicked out of the Kemper family. Oh? Competition? Will smiled. Seeing that Will was interested, Cory immediately said, we two will fight one-on-one. If you win, I will leave immediately, and the treasures I brought will belong to you. If you lose, Naya will belong to me. How? You despicable guy, a knight is fighting a quasi-knight? Seth finally couldn't stand it anymore. Seth, who is usually indifferent and reticent, jumped out angrily. If you want, I'll fight you one-on-one, life and death, dare. Seth drew his sword at Cory. Cory's talent is better than Seth's. But Seth has been in the realm of knights for several years, and his strength is higher than that of Cory. Will, you coward. Trash. Garbage. Cory ignored Seth, and arrogantly scolded Will, if you have the ability to fight me, you are protected by women like a turtle, are you still a man? The more Cory scolded, the worse it sounded. Cory's crazy appearance, even the very well-mannered Mr. Chapman couldn't bear it. Get out! Mr. Chapman yelled angrily, patting the chair. Several guards rushed towards Cory and carried Cory out. Knight Shailuo had no choice but to follow him out. As the disciple of the great knight Paul, Shailuo is the closest person to the great knight. Shailuo is really powerful. Ordinary knights can't survive 10 moves under Shailuo's hands. But this is the territory of the Camper family. You Shailuo is powerful, no matter how strong you are, how many people can you kill? Even if the great knight Paul himself came, he would not dare to confront the anger of a Viscount family head-on. The 4-armed ghost ape has the strength of a great knight, isn't it amazing? But when facing 5 knights, wouldn't he have to escape with serious injuries? Plus a Will gets killed instantly. There are more than 6 knights in the Camper family? How could Shailuo be comparable to the 4-armed ghost ape? Shailuo's strength, not to mention fighting the 6 knights head-on, all 3 of them hang. Wait, Will said suddenly. Do you dare to fight me? Coward. Cory breathed a sigh of relief, the aggressive method finally worked. To you, Naya is only worth these hundreds of thousands of gold coins? Will looked at Cory with cold eyes. Then what do you have to do to be willing to fight with me? Cory was not afraid of Will adding chips, but afraid of Will's refusal. Stupid. How dare you bet on Naya as an item, and still have the face to say you love Naya? Today you win the bet and get Naya. If you lose the bet tomorrow, do you want to give Naya to someone else? Will walked towards Cory step by step. Nia is my wife, the person I love the most, and the person I am willing to protect with my life. Will's saliva almost sprayed on Cory's face. If you really want to bet, throw the Viscount title on the bet. Talk at the table. You. Cory stared at Will with fiery eyes. Because what Will said was true. Cory doesn't love Naya at all. When Cory pursued Edith, he only coveted Edith's beauty and Edith's future potential. Whether it's Edith or Naya, it's just a tool for Cory. Comparing this tool with the title of Viscount? Do you dare to have a knight duel with me? Cory calmed down. A knight duel is the most noble ceremony in this world. When fighting, both sides can only choose the most common weapons and armor, and fight without using vitality. There are no restrictions on any tricks, and there are only 2 options, admit defeat and die. It's the fairest fight. It is even said that there was once a great knight who was killed by a reserve knight in a knight duel. Everyone stared at Cory in shock. No one expected that Cory would actually ask for a knight duel. Are you crazy? Sharo yelled at Cory, if you don't use your life force, you will have a life and death duel with a quasi-knight. Even if you win, it will probably be a miserable victory. A 3-year-old child, as long as he can use his strength, can seriously injure or kill an adult. Not to mention 2 warriors fighting with swords? Cory has just entered the realm of knights not long ago, and his physical fitness has not widened the gap with quasi-knights. The sword has no eyes. So what if Cory won the Cavaliers matchup? As long as Will counterattacks before he dies and leaves Corey with permanent disabilities, then Corey will be considered as the Ion Lord in this life. A night duel is too dangerous. Therefore, the night duel is the fairest duel. This is a decision I made after careful consideration, Uncle Shero. Corey looked at Will solemnly. You win, and the treasure belongs to you. I swear that I will never set foot in the Ogre family territory in my lifetime. If you win, you will never set foot in the province of Doria again. How about it? If Will loses, he can still marry Naya. With Will's strength and potential and the support of the Camper family, it is not difficult to become a baron outside, but he can no longer enter the province of Doria. And Corey lost, because he could no longer step into Ogre's territory, and lost his position as heir in a disguised form. It seems that Corey seems to have lost a little bit. But considering that Corey is stronger than Will, this bet is fair and reasonable. Corey would love to kill Will. Corey really wanted to make a bet on who would lose and who would die. The problem is that Corey is not 100% sure of defeating Will. Even if he wins, Will, who knows he must die, may give Corey a hard blow at the cost of his death. Therefore, Corey did not dare to do too much. Will, don't worry about him, no one will say anything about you if you refuse him. Seth persuaded in Will's ear. Seth had also been at Will's age, and he knew that people of this age were full of vigor, reckless, and unable to withstand provocation. As you wish. Will agreed. Alas! Sion sighed. Chapman and Carlo also shook their heads at Will's decision. The night duel between Will and Corey will be held at our training ground in Camper, and I will be a witness. Father Chapman said. No problem. Will nodded. Neither do I, Corey said. Will and Corey are fine with each other. People in the conference hall moved to the training ground. When Will and the others arrived at the training ground, it was already crowded with people. The news that Will and Corey will have a night duel has spread throughout the Kemple family. All the free people of the Kemper family gathered around the training ground. After all, it is rare to see a Cavalier's duel in 10 years. It is rare to see one of the other party is the heir of the Viscount family. Will and Corey stand on the battlefield. Will looked around and saw Emma, who was about to cry, being hugged by her sixth uncle Henry. He saw Naya, who was clenching his fists and cheering for him, and Ophelia, who was watching Will with trusting eyes beside Naya. I saw the eyes of Mr. Chapman and Uncle Carlo who hated iron and steel. There was also a fiery red figure mixed in the crowd. A head of red hair burning like a flame, especially conspicuous among the crowd with mainly black, grey and flaxen hair colors. Wayne Kemple. Inherited her mother's red hair, 2 years older than Will, a boyish personality, and a beautiful woman with a hot figure. One of Will's marriage lists. In the meeting just now, Will didn't find Wien, and he still had a little regret in his heart. Will smiled at Wien and waved his hand in greeting. Don't hold on, if you can't beat it, just admit defeat. Wei Yin shouted to Will worriedly. I didn't expect the Camper family to have such beauties. Corey gave Wei Yin a lecherous look. Let's start the battle. Will had nothing to say to Corey. Since you want to die, then I will help you. As soon as the voice fell, Corey preemptively struck. Corey's swordsmanship is a murderous swordsmanship honed in battle. Clean and neat, without sloppy. Strong strength, extraordinary talent and rich combat experience make Corey have the qualifications to be superior to others. Corey's attack rained down on Will like a storm. Corey knew that Will must not be given a chance to breathe and fight back. If you don't want to get hurt, you have to beat Will in one go. But Will is not as vulnerable as Corey imagined. Will is like a flat boat, supporting himself in the storm. No matter how rough your waves are, I will not fall down by myself. Corey's eyes froze. Of course Corey knew it was a bit unrealistic to beat Will in one go. But what if Corey doesn't play by the rules? What if Corey used his vitality to kill Will? The answer is there will be no punishment at all. From the very beginning, Corey never thought about obeying the rules of night duels. Rules are nothing but something that the weak set for themselves to restrict the strong. In front of the strong, farts are nothing. Will Corey be accused and scolded for violating the rules of the Cavalier's duel? Then what? Corey is also the heir of the Ogre family and the future Viscount. Corey glanced proudly at Naya in the audience. No matter what means I use, I will get you. Kill Will, marry Naya, don't you worry about Edith's revenge? Corey certainly wasn't worried. Will betrayed Edith, and Corey thought that Edith must be ruthless to Will, and would never retaliate against him for Will's death. As for Naya, Corey feels that the reason why Naya is unwilling to marry him now is just short-sighted. In the beginning, Naya might feel resentful, sad, and hopeless. But gradually, Naya will be overwhelmed by his family background, strength, and handsomeness, just like the women before. Those women, men were killed by Corey, and their relatives were tortured by Corey. At the beginning, they cried and wanted to commit suicide, with only resentment towards Corey in their eyes. Later, when Corey got tired of playing with them, when he threw them away, didn't he hug Corey's thigh and kowtow on the ground to pray? The trinity of wealth, looks, and strength, Corey, who thinks he is perfect, does not believe that any woman in this world can withstand his offensive. Will's body staggered in Corey's onslaught. Corey's eyes lit up, and this was the opportunity that Corey was waiting for. Corey glows white. Corey threw a ready-to-go sword at Will. Even in a normal fight, Will, who is a quasi-knight, would be seriously injured by this sword when he used his vitality to fight, let alone now. Corey's face is hideous. Go to hell. Corey laughed wildly. Looking for death. Chapman, Carlo, and everyone present were enraged by Corey's shamelessness. The first time Carlo noticed something was wrong, he rushed towards Will and the others, but it was still a step too late. It's just that Will is the calmest compared to the panicked onlookers. Will looked at Corey with a sneer. I was thinking about how to kill you, but I didn't expect you to give the opportunity to me by yourself. You? Corey was surprised to find that the expression on Will's face was not the panicked and desperate expression he expected. It's mocking. An ominous premonition rose in Corey's heart. The next moment, that ominous premonition was verified. The sword misses, and Corey's chest hits the point of Will's sword. Corey died. Chapter 27. Will drew his sword. Corey clutched his chest, blood gushing from the wound. Corey's body gradually went limp. Shaluo rushed to the duel field, holding Corey who was about to die. Corey's hand held Sharo tightly, his nails pierced into Sharo's arm. I. Corey was not reconciled. He also has big ambitions. He still has a bright future. He still has a great life. Corey didn't want to die. But who wants to die? Corey's body gradually cooled down, and Sharo hugged Corey blankly. Sharo suddenly turned his head and stared at Will. Carlo protected Will behind him, and looked at Shaluo without showing any weakness. Shaluo, you are the ones who lost. Corey, in a duel of holy knights. Violating the rules, he used his vitality to kill Will, but by accident, he died under Will's sword. It is simply that the wicked will be rewarded with evil, which makes people applaud. Corey's death, even if the Emperor of the Cairo Empire came, he couldn't fault it. Sharo gave Will a deep look. I remember you. Sharo picked up Corey's body, got on the horse, flicked the whip, and rode out of the Kemper family. Brother, that's great. Brother Will, you won, that's amazing. Emma and Naya threw themselves into the arms of Will. Uncle Carlo and sixth Uncle Henry patted Will on the shoulder. As long as you are fine, don't be so impulsive next time. Wei Yun glanced at Will from afar, then turned and left. The onlookers praised Will one after another. Will looked coldly at the direction Cheryl left, and sneered in his heart. Before the fight started, Will was still worrying about what to do to kill Corey by coincidence. Unexpectedly, Corey himself sent the opportunity to his door. If Corey doesn't die, who dies? Will never forgive anyone who dares to covet Naya. Especially Corey, who not only has thoughts in his heart, but also takes actions, must die. Today is a beautiful day. Will looked up at the blue sky, and the depression caused by Corey was swept away in his heart. Today, Naya's marriage proposal was successful. Killed a rival. Get a windfall of hundreds of thousands of gold coins. If every day is so happy, Will wake up smiling from his dreams. A day ago, Will was a poor man. I have to use my future wife's money to buy things. In just one day, Will already has hundreds of thousands of gold coins. Corey worked hard for Naya. You know, the sword of the 23rd king of Cairo at the auction is only 430,000 gold coins. Corey's dozens of boxes of things are about the same price. Corey himself certainly cannot afford so much money, and there must be the support of the Oguri family behind it. Will, surrounded by happiness and joy, suddenly felt a pain in his heart. Will clutched his chest, looking ugly. What's wrong with you, Will? Naya was the first to notice Will's strangeness. It's okay, I'm just a little tired. Will explained. Today, Will has experienced too many things. It's normal to be tired. Will bid farewell to everyone and returned to the room. Will unbuttoned his clothes on his chest, where there was a dazzling tattoo. This piece of dark green lines on the chest, similar to tree roots, appeared after Will drank the black stock solution. I was poisoned by the black stock solution. If I don't get the antidote from Reb, I will die. Will's eyes were deep. Will wasn't one to put his life on other people. Especially when the other party is a person who has only met once. Will doesn't trust Rib. But Will had to do what Rib said. Will wants power. Will wants to enter the world of the Witcher. Therefore, Will must continue to drink the black stock solution until a month later. But in case. Did Rib lie to Will? Was Rib delayed by something? Once an accident occurs, Will, who is deeply poisoned by the black stock solution, will surely die after that month. Nani ya if Will dies? Will won't pin his only hope on the unreliable Rib. Will had already thought of a way in his mind. Since the black stock solution is a kind of poison, it is necessary to find a way to detoxify it. The next day, under the leadership of Uncle Henry, Will came to the library of the Campere family. In the library of the Campere family, there are dozens of bookshelves, and all kinds of books are densely placed on the bookshelves. This is the largest and most complete library in our family. You can find almost all books on geography, history, travel notes, and night training. Henry raised his chin proudly. Will's family, for hundreds of years, has only collected a few hundred books. And here, there are dozens of bookshelves alone. There are tens of thousands of books. In the entire province of Doria, I am afraid that only Earl Giali's family has such a rich collection of books. This is indeed something to be proud of. The books here are all originals, no taking out, copying, or damage is allowed, remember? Uncle Henry told Will. I will. Will nodded obediently. After Uncle Henry left, Will's eyes wandered over the bookshelf. Will wandered over to the bookshelf where the night training methods were kept. If possible, Will would like to practice all the night training methods, take the advantages and discard the dross, integrate all the exercises into one furnace, and create the strongest night breathing method. But now Will doesn't have that much time, nor does he have that much energy. Will's top priority now is to solve the toxin of the black stock solution. Will pulls a book from the shelf. Longevity and Health Regimen. Health-preserving exercises are a kind of cultivation method that has the same principle as the night breathing method, but its functions are quite different. Like gunpowder. Gunpowder, used as ammunition and used to make guns and cannons, is of course its most powerful function. But it doesn't do much to make fireworks, does it? The regimen is like ammunition to fireworks compared to night's breath. Practicing night breathing can bring powerful power and indirectly give a powerful status. Practicing health regimen can help detoxify and delay aging. It's just that it takes too much time to practice health regimen, and the effect is too slow. Generally, only the elderly can practice it. Will opened the survival prolongation and health regimen and read it intently. Will's goal today is the night breathing method. It's about Will's life. The principle is similar to the night's breathing method, and it's not difficult to get started. Will turned another page. This health regimen has been cultivated to the extreme, and it is not a problem to live to 100, 20, or 30 years old. Unfortunately, there is no detailed description of the detoxification function. Think about it, not very functional. Will took out another copy of Beauty and Detoxification Regimen from the bookshelf. This exercise is used to eliminate toxins from the skin and achieve the function of beauty and health. It has little effect on the toxins rooted in internal organs and blood vessels. Wei Yao nodded. Will picked on the bookshelf, and finally found a copy of Inner Breathing. Will turned a few pages, and the book turned out to be quite interesting. It's actually about cultivating internal organs, exercising the internal organs. Exercising the internal organs is too dangerous. If you are not careful, you will die, so there is no way to directly exercise the internal organs in this world. Mostly indirect exercise. And this inner breathing method is actually aimed at the internal organs. After a few glances, Will shook his head in disappointment. This inner breathing method actually does not directly exercise the internal organs, but only achieves the effect of strengthening the internal organs by eliminating toxins in the internal organs. After all, internal organs are too complex and fragile. It's the inner breathing method. It took 3 days, and Will's inner breathing method entered the door. Then Will used 5 points of source power to stack the inner breathing method to level 5. During this period, Will drank the black stock solution 3 times. Will's physical fitness also jumped to the level of a great knight. The inner breathing method does have some effect. After the cultivation is completed, ordinary toxins have no effect on Will. But it has little effect on the toxin of the black stock solution. The inner breathing method has the strongest detoxification effect among all health regimens. Even the inner breathing method is useless, what about other health regimens? Will chose to practice all of his regimens. There are dozens of books on health regimen collected in Campere's library. Originally, Will thought that the current source power was not enough to complete the cultivation. But after Will practiced a few books in a row, Will was surprised to find that it only took 1 or 2 hours to get started with the following health regimen, and it was level 3 and level 4 at the beginning. Because the principles and effects of health regimens are mostly the same, it is normal for this to happen. In 10 days, Will learned all the health regimens and raised them to level 5. A full 30 points of Will's source power were used up. Will only has 10 points of source power left. Although the cost is huge, the effect is equally astonishing. Under the joint action of dozens of health-preserving methods, the toxins of the black stock solution have been effectively contained. At the same time, Will's body also changed. The thick calluses on the palms fell off, the dead muscles on the body disappeared, and the skin became fair. Every day, Will's body sheds a layer of dead skin. Every time he practiced, a layer of black stains would secrete from Will's skin. The internal organs become stronger, various micro-damages of the body are repaired, and various functions of the body become stronger than ever. Although due to the loss of the thick callus, the muscle mass on his body disappeared, and Will's combat effectiveness decreased a little in a short period of time. But judging by the effect, it's all worth it. At night, Will hugs the book and looks up at the night sky. In 10 days, Will's body shape changed a lot. From the previous strong boy, he became a slender and beautiful boy. Will put down the book in his hand, and smiled reassuringly. 10 days of hard work, 30 points of source power, are finally not in vain. Will has already integrated dozens of health regimens into one furnace, forming a new and strongest regimen. Will named this regimen Whispering Disinfection. With the help of the Weiss disinfection method, Will is no longer afraid of the toxin of the black stock solution. Moreover, Will's physique and lifespan have also been greatly strengthened. The me now, if there are no accidents, there is absolutely no problem in living peacefully to the age of 140 or 50. Will looked at his slender, white hands. These hands were full of thick calluses 10 days ago. The thick calluses are gone, and it hurts when I hold the sword, and it hurts my hand when I use force. Will touched his arm. Most of the originally bulging arm muscles disappeared. Will tore off the clothes on his chest, and the 8-pack abs disappeared, only the white, tender, and fragile abdomen. It seems that the strength has weakened. My vitality has actually increased by 50%, and my control over vitality has actually doubled. Feeling the changes in his body, Will couldn't help but marvel. A great knight can condense vitality on the body's surface to form a radiant armor. With my current vitality, an ordinary great knight can only condense the radiant armor for about 3 minutes. But more than 10 minutes. The Western disinfection method created by Will is not an ordinary cultivation method. William's disinfection method integrates all the advantages of the health regimen into one body, prolongs life, nourishes the skin and detoxifies, and has extremely powerful functions in all aspects. But correspondingly, the training time is extremely long. The practice of health regimen is extremely time-consuming, and the Way-style disinfection method is even more so. But Will made some improvements. In the process of practicing the Western disinfection method, various medicines are also used to assist. Just like the night breathing method that Will practiced, he had already reached level 5 and already possessed the level of a great knight. However, due to his poor physical fitness, he had to wait a long time before he could possess the strength of a great knight. The practice of health regimen is slower than the night breathing method. The Western disinfection method is very powerful, and the speed of cultivation is also very slow. Under normal circumstances, it takes hundreds of years to achieve great success. With the help of Lan Ling, it will take nearly 10 years for Will. But with the help of drugs, it is quite different. It can shorten the practice time of the Western disinfection method several times. Chapter 28. Early morning. The mist fills the air, and the horseshoes are long. A convoy of dozens of carriages loomed in the fog. The convoy started from Moonfall City and headed towards Lent Town, and it has been 2 days. At noon today, we will reach our destination. Among the convoy, there is a luxurious carriage with a double-headed eagle tattooed on it, which is particularly conspicuous. Will was sitting in the carriage, wearing a light down jacket, with a wool blanket covering his legs, and a piece of paper was spread on the low table in front of Will. Will held the quill pen dipped in ink in his right hand, writing slowly on the paper. After a piece of paper is full, Will puts down the quill and puts the paper in a ventilated place to dry. Emma, who was also in the carriage, stretched her head over and took a look, then said disappointedly, "Brother, why is it a medicinal herb again? Write more stories." Will has always been interested in medicinal materials in this world. In this world, there are too many animals and plants that did not exist on the earth before. To Will, it is a joy to get to know one more animal, one plant, and understand their habits and functions. Especially after learning the health-preserving method Way-style disinfection method. Because the Western disinfection method requires the use of a variety of medicinal materials to assist in cultivation, Will memorized many books related to medicinal materials during the half-month stay in the Campere family. Now, Will is sorting out the knowledge of medicinal materials in his mind and writing them down on paper. "Hey, don't disturb brother." Will gently stroked Emma's head. Emma patted Will's hand away, leaned against the carriage window, and looked at the scenery outside boredly. For a 10-year-old girl, riding in a carriage for 2 days must be quite painful and boring. Will also wanted to spend more time with Emma. It's just that Will has been too busy recently, and Will has too many things to do. Will closed his eyes and wrote something all night. He was a little tired and took a rest. As soon as I closed my eyes, many thoughts came to my mind again. Will frowned, thinking of what happened the day before yesterday. His face was a little melancholy. The night before yesterday. Will tells Naya a story and puts Naya to sleep. After making love with Orpheus, she left Naya's room and returned to her own accommodation. Step into the door. In the room that should have been empty, a red figure sat by the window, holding a flagon, drinking alone against the moon. It's Wei-yin. With a well-proportioned figure, an exquisite and charming face, and flaming red hair, Wei-yin attracts the attention of others all the time. Seeing Will coming in, Wei-yin held up his wine glass. "Are you back? Stay with me for a while?" Will sat down, and Wei-yin filled Will with wine. "Finally want to see my old friend?" Will joked. Will came to the Kemple family for half a month, and only saw Wei-yin once during the night duel with Cory. Given the relationship between Will and Wei-yin, who can be called best friends, this kind of thing is unusual. There is only one explanation, and that is that Wei-yin hides from Will. "You chose Naya." For some reason, Wei-yin, who was always cheerful and confident, was frowning with sadness at this moment. Could it be? Will's eyes widened in surprise. "Are you in love with me?" Will has always regarded Wei-yin as his brother, but he didn't expect Wei-yin to want to fall in love with him. This is so heart-wrenching. "Am I beautiful?" Wei-yin brushed her hair. "Beautiful," Will said without thinking. "Am I getting old?" Wei-yin winked at Will. 17 is the time when a girl is at her most youthful. Will felt a little weird. "Yeah, I'm only 17. Wei-yin lowered his head, "but the family can't wait to marry me off. You're not the first, and you won't be the last." 17 years old, for Will in his previous life, he was still an ignorant youth in high school. But for most people in this world, 17 is already the father or mother of several children. At this point, even Will would succumb. Then hurry up and find a man to marry, wouldn't that be good? Will couldn't think of a good way either. Fortunately, the Campere family still has a high degree of freedom when it comes to marriage. As long as the person you are looking for is not too bad, you will generally agree. Like Will's father and mother, no matter how much the Campere family hated Baron Leo, at the insistence of their mother Delia, didn't they agree? From this point of view, the Campere family is still very open-minded. The atmosphere suddenly fell silent. The moonlight quietly enveloped Will and Wei-yin. The two drank wine glass after glass until the wine in the flagon was exhausted. "I want to leave." Wei-yin suddenly broke the silence. "Leave? Where?" Will asked. "Will, didn't you say you wanted to travel around the world? I might be one step ahead of you." Wei-yin stood up, looking into the distance through the window. "Wei-yin, the matter is not that simple." Will was surprised by Wei-yin's decision, but did not agree with Wei-yin's decision. This world is very dangerous. Danger not only comes from beasts and monsters, but also from people's hearts. Will understands the greed and darkness of the human heart all too well. The novels and TV in the previous life are not for nothing. Wei Yin, a flowery and beautiful noble lady, left her family and went out to wander alone. It was like a little sheep breaking into a pack of wolves, and the consequences would be disastrous. Wei Yin looked at Will disappointedly. I thought that only you would support me. That's not an adventure, it's nonsense. Will didn't expect that there would be a day when he would hit other people's dreams in the name of doing it for you. So, is this enough? Wei Yin swiped at Will. A dim white light flashed. Wei Yin pinched one of Will's hair and smiled confidently. Quasi-night? Will underestimated Wei Yin. Will knew that Wei Yin was practicing night breathing, but he didn't like it very much. It's like a fee likes swordsmanship, but after studying for so many years, he hasn't even reached the benchmark of a reserve knight. In Will's past impressions, Wei Yin's cultivation should be mostly in the nature of playing tricks. Unexpectedly, Wei Yin actually has quasi-knight strength. The 17-year-old prospective knight is also a genius. There are still many things you don't know. Wei Yin pressed 5 fingers on the table, and a black handprint appeared on the table. Will's pupils shrank sharply. Will looked straight at Wei Yin. It's not the power of a knight. You also know? Edith told you before, right? Wei Yin was even more surprised. This is the power from the blood of the wizard. Edith was admitted to the Raleigh Union Academy after awakening the power of the blood. Wei Yin didn't hide it from Will. Wizard blood? Isn't it a witcher? Will was a little confused. Do demon hunters refer to the group of people who specialize in hunting monsters in the legend? What does it have to do with the power of blood? As long as the strength is strong enough, anyone can be a demon hunter, right? Wei Yin is obviously concerned about the demon hunter don't know much. But what Wei Yin said made a little sense. The strength of monsters is generally among the great knights, but their IQ is much lower than that of humans. As long as you have the strength of a great knight, think out a strategy, and set up traps, it is not difficult to hunt 1 or 2 lonely monsters. There are so many ferocious beasts stronger than humans in the natural world, and they were killed by humans in the end. However, Rip was clearly not that kind of person. Rip is a demon hunter who possesses an unknown power called magic. I just don't know the relationship between the power of bloodline mentioned by Wei Yin and the magic power mentioned by Lei Pu. And wizards? Will selectively raised the questions in his heart. I don't understand, I don't know, don't ask me. It's just that Wei Yin doesn't know anything. Then what do you know? Will said speechlessly. I only know that I am very strong, much stronger than you and Cory who was killed by you. Wei Yin raised his chest confidently. Under the moonlight, the 2 peaks of Wei Yin caught Will's attention. Wei Yin noticed Will's gaze, and gave Will a hard kick with his toe. Ouch! Will shuddered and wiped the drool from the corner of his mouth. Will said with a straight face, your strength may be enough, but... But what? Mother-in-law and mother. Wei Yin has obviously heard enough of Will's words. I don't want to spend my whole life on husband and child. I have my own life and my own dreams. I also want to become the pirate king. Will couldn't help but support his forehead. Do you still want to find the legendary treasure? Will, come with me? Be my partner, let's go on an adventure together. Wei Yin extended an olive branch to Will. But what I want to be is the bandit king. Will regretted the messy stories he told Wei Yin before. You guys speak very well, but when you actually act, you shrink back. Wei Yin seemed to have anticipated Will's rejection. You don't leave now because you have no descendants, and you won't leave next year because you just married Ni when ya gets married. Is it because the child hasn't grown up yet? Still want to have a grandchild? People can't live just for themselves. Will acquiesced. Yeah, so I'm leaving. Wei Yin took off his clothes one by one. The wonderful ketone body was so charming under the moonlight. You? Will stood up in surprise. Giving it to you for the first time is better than being taken away by someone. Wei Yin has already prepared for the worst. Risk, danger is essential. Especially a beauty like Wei Yin. Once in danger, Wei Yin knows how he will be treated. I'm not this kind of person. Will wanted to hug Wei Yin very much, and wanted to sleep with Wei Yin very much. But Will couldn't do it. Will already has Nia. Will came to the Campere family because he married Nia, not to play with women. Will has always been single-minded towards Nia. So, even though the flame in Will's heart was already burning, Will still wouldn't move Wei Yin's finger. You think I don't know what you and Effie do every day? Wei Yin looked at Will with contempt. This. Will was ashamed. Since you're not coming, I'll do it. Wei Yin licked his lips, showing a dangerous smile. Will stared at the ceiling speechlessly, counting the stains on it. Naya, I'm sorry for you. There were 2 tears from the corners of Will's eyes, they couldn't come out. The pure body was defiled by Wei Yin. Will was desperate and sad, and Will showed an expression of pain. Chapter 29. Demon Hunters, Magic Power, Apprentices, Bloodlines, Wizards, Spells. Countless clues circled in Will's mind like a maze, but they still couldn't be connected together. Will is waiting for a key that can unlock the doubts in his heart and explain everything to him. And this key? Rip Otter, I hope you don't let me down. Will narrowed his eyes. Suddenly, Will felt his cheeks wet. Will turns his head to see Emma Pelopero licking his cheek. Will pressed Emma's head and said speechlessly, Emma, what are you doing? Brother, you smell so good. Emma looked at Will obsessively. After practicing the Western disinfection method, Will's skin has not only become fair and pleasant, but also exudes a natural fragrance all over his body. Even so, you can't lick me? Will pushed the unwilling Emma away. Just one bite, brother, give me a bite, I promise not to eat too much. Emma licked her lips, drooling and looked at Will. Hearing this, Will hit Emma hard on the head a few times. Ah! Emma looked at Will tearfully, holding her head. That pitiful look is lovable. Just one sip, Emma begged. Okay. Really? Emma's eyes widened excitedly. Will took Emma's soft left hand and lightly bit Emma's index finger. A tiny wound. A trace of blood came out. Blood, 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 I'm bleeding. Emma's voice suddenly choked up, tears were about to flow down. You know? It's wrong to bite. Will gently helped Emma hold the wound, do not do to others what you don't want to do to yourself. This principle is applicable everywhere. I was wrong. Emma bowed her head, but brother, you bit me, so it's not too much for me to bite back, right? Aggressive. Emma's little head was hit hard by Will a few more times. Emma crouched in the corner of the carriage, gritted her teeth, and stared at Will with hatred in her eyes. Ignoring Emma's teeth grinding, Will took out a piece of paper, spread it on the low table, held a beautiful quill, dipped it in ink, and started writing again. The carriage was moving forward gurgling, and outside the carriage, the groom's yelling could be heard from time to time. Will concentrated on recording the knowledge about medicinal materials in his mind on paper. When a page is full, take it aside to dry. Then spread the second sheet of paper and continue writing. Time passed slowly. When the floor was filled with 10 sheets of paper, Will stretched out his waist. At some point, Emma came to him and fell asleep leaning against him. Will puts Emma down and spreads a blanket for Emma. Why did the carriage stop? Will rolled up the door curtain. The coachman is gone, please wait a moment, Master Will. A guard came over and explained to Will respectfully. Will glanced around and found that there were dense forests all around. I don't know when, the other team members in the same group disappeared. What about the others? Shouldn't they leave in Lent Town? Will felt a sense of ominousness in his heart. Baron Leo took Will to Moonset City, accompanied by people who brought fur and grain specialties to sell in Moonset City. After all, the 2-day distance from Lent Town to Moonfall City is quite dangerous. In Baron Leo's territory, many people followed Baron Leo to Moonfall City. Although Baron Leo left on the 2nd day after arriving in Moonset City, the convoy would not leave that fast. Half a month later, when the things for sale were sold out, and the things they wanted to buy were sold, they assembled everything and waited for Will. They all returned to Lent Town, and the team was much larger than when they came. Master Will, didn't you say you wanted to go back to the castle quickly and let the coachman take a shortcut? The guard asked suspiciously. Will's face changed, get out of here quickly. When the guard heard this, his expression changed suddenly. If it wasn't Will's order, why did the groom lie to them? And take them all to a place like this surrounded by dense forests? Before Will and the others took action, a wave of arrows flew over from the dense forest on both sides of the path. Immediately, several people were hit by arrows and fell down wailing. Enemy attack. The guards protecting Will are all experienced fighters. When encountering an attack, they quickly reacted and organized their defenses. Then, several waves of arrow rain came in succession. Because they were all hiding behind bunkers, only one person was injured. After the rain of arrows, dozens of soldiers in heavy armor rushed out of the woods on both sides. Will's guards were only wearing leather armor, and the opponent was crushed not only in numbers, but also in equipment. No matter how you look at it, Will lose. Not a robber? Will's eyes were cold. It is impossible for a bandit to have such a good armor. Can you actually buy the coachman? There must be a ghost inside. Will took out a knight's sword, jumped off the carriage, and said to the surrounding guards, "Protect Emma, don't spread out the defensive formation. Master Will, let's stop each other, you and Miss Emma escape first." The guard shouted to Will. Will ignored the shouts of the others. Will held his sword and rushed into the enemy crowd. "Humph, since you dare to attack me, you must be prepared to be killed by me. Will is like a tiger among the sheep." Swipe. One face to face, the other three were killed by Will. "Knight? Master Will is a knight? We are saved." The guards cheered. An ordinary knight can confront 20 heavily armored soldiers head-on. These people in front of him are not heavy armored soldiers, and Will is not an ordinary knight either. Will's light figure danced in the crowd. The sword in his hand, every time he danced, he had to harvest a life. Will turned into a grim reaper, leaving only corpses wherever he went. Source power +7. Source power +8. Source plus. Reminders from the landling system kept appearing, and Will's source power kept rising. After a while, the source force value broke through the 100 mark. "Come again. Will has had sex." A quasi-knight rushed out from the opposite side, and the vitality was aroused on the opposite side. Will didn't even think about it, and then stimulated his vitality, and slashed at the opponent with 3 swords. With a sword, sweep away the opponent's sword. 2 swords, breaking the opponent's armor. 3 swords, tear open the opponent's chest, and kill the opponent. Source power +7. Hey? When Will killed the opponent and wanted to turn around and continue fighting. Looking at the face of the dead quasi-knight, Will froze suddenly. Yell? The quasi-knight of Yale, the captain of the hunting team in Albert Castle, Will once learned the breath-holding technique from Yale. There are less than 10 quasi-knights under Baron Leo. Yale actually betrayed? Could it be? Startled, Will looked around. Looking at the corpses lying around, he suddenly found that the faces of these people were all familiar. It's Roll. That's Ruta. Emery Cloth. One after another they were recognized. You guys are soldiers in the territory? Will's face was extremely ugly. The guards following Will also realized that something was wrong. Clap clap. A man in black armor with a sullen face clapped his hands and walked out of the dense forest. Master Will, you are not only strong, but also have a good memory. Grote smiled, your Albert family is done, be sensible, surrender early, and avoid the pain of flesh and blood. Knight Grote, you actually betrayed? Will's eyes were extremely cold. Not only me, but Knight Vaden and Knight Neeson have all betrayed. Baron Leo is doomed, and your Albert family is doomed. Grote made no secret of his killing intent towards Will. Impossible. Will couldn't believe it, anyone can betray, only Uncle Neeson, it's impossible. Neeson is Baron Leo's life and death comrade in arms. The two have saved each other's life many times, and the sincerity of their relationship makes even Will envious. Will is closer to Neeson than to Baron Leo. This world is so wonderful. Unexpected things often happen. You can't believe it. Grote shrugged and mocked wild awe. Is it true? Just kill you and hurry back to the castle. Will didn't want to talk nonsense with Grote anymore. Kill me? Ha ha ha. Grote laughed loudly, Master Will, you are indeed very talented. You have reached the realm of knighthood at the age of 15. It is not an exaggeration to say that you are the first genius in the Cairo Empire. But... Grote turned around and said in a sinister tone, just now, in order to reduce the casualties of your own personnel, you wanted to end the battle as soon as possible. Every attack of yours almost used vitality. If I remember correctly, you used a total of 23 life force? Right? The reason why Will was able to slaughter the attackers like melons and vegetables just now is because Will spent almost every blow with his vitality. Facing attackers whose strength was only at the level of reserve knights, no one was Will's once again against enemy. But correspondingly, the consumption is also huge. You're running out of energy now, aren't you? Grote smiled sinisterly. The thought of being able to kill Leo's son, Will, who has been pressured by relying on his status as the heir, has first-class talent and strength, and became a knight at the age of 15. Grote was so excited that he couldn't help smiling. Die. Will stopped talking nonsense with Grote. Since you want to die, I will help you. Grote smiled cruelly. First sword. How many more times can you stimulate your vitality? Second sword. It's just a dying struggle. The third sword. Haha, that's it, despair, fight, let me enjoy it. The fourth sword. Wait a minute, I want you to watch your favorite sister cry under me, ha ha ha. Fifth sword. How much strength do you have? Stop struggling. The 11th sword. How is it possible? Why do you have so much vitality? Grote finally lost his composure. Grote fell under Will's 15th sword. Grote stared at Will in disbelief. Grote closed his eyes in despair. Until his death, Grote didn't know why Will was so strong, why Will was able to stimulate his vitality so many times. If Grote knew the strength of Will's knight from the beginning, he would turn around and run away immediately. In the dense forest, Will might not be able to catch up with Grote. After killing Grote, Will's eyes turned to the remaining people around him. Feeling Will's cold gaze, he looked at Grote, who was pierced through the chest by Will's sword and fell at Will's feet. Ding ding ding. There was a sound of weapons falling around. Master Will, we were all persecuted by the Grote Knight. Master Will, please spare us. It's all the damned Vaden Knight, he forced us. Will killed all the attackers present one by one, leaving no one behind. Seeing Will covered in blood, even the guards beside Will couldn't help but shudder. Protect Emma, I'll rush back to the castle first. Will tapped his toes and shot towards Albert Castle. Chapter 30. In Albert Castle, there is a mess. The rebels and guards fought together, blood and corpses were everywhere. In the study room of the castle, Baron Leo was clutching his left abdomen. There was a hideous wound on Baron Leo's abdomen. Baron Leo glared at a middle-aged man with a mustache. Vaden, we are childhood friends. Your ancestors are all knights of our Albert family. Our family has been married many times. You and I are connected by blood. Why did you betray me? Baron Leo asked. It was you who took Delia away. Knight Vaden said with a gloomy expression. That's Delia's choice, and no one can take it away. Leo retorted. Delia, a member of the Camper family, is Viscount Chapman's favorite daughter. In Moonset City, there are countless men who admire Delia. Baron Leo and Knight Vaden are both one of those countless men. The difference is that Baron Leo got Delia's heart, while Knight Vaden, like the other men, failed, that's all. I wanted Philip and Emma to marry. Knight Vaden said again. Philly is a good child. I agree with Emma and Philly getting married, but when you proposed marriage to me that year, Emma was only 9 years old. Delia, Emma, Naya, every woman I like, you have to obstruct me. Knight Vaden's words were full of hatred for Baron Leo. I finally understand that it's not that I'm not strong, it's not that I'm inferior to you, but because you are a baron. This is the territory of the Camper family. Will and Naya have already made a marriage contract. Do you think you can inherit this land and become a baron after killing me? Baron Leo asked back. Don't worry, I have plenty of solutions. Knight Vaden smiled mysteriously. Seeing that he couldn't communicate with Knight Vaden, Baron Leo turned his gaze to another person. It was a mean-looking middle-aged woman Will had never seen before. Mina, I didn't expect you to come too. Baron Leo and Mina hadn't seen each other for decades. You killed Owen, my brother. Mina gripped the two knives tightly. It was just an accident. Baron Leo's eyes flashed with pain. Baron Leo, Cavalier Vaden, and Owen are childhood sweethearts who have grown up together. The three study together, practice together, and progress together. Become quasi-knights together, march towards knights together, and compete who will become a knight first. But after a duel, everything changed. It was originally just a farce, an ordinary duel. But Baron Leo and Owen, fighting to the end, were too devoted. In the end, both of them actually used their vitality. Baron Leo killed Owen. Holding the cold body of his best friend Owen, Baron Leo was filled with pain and guilt. Baron Leo still remembers Owen's sister Mina looking at his eyes of hatred. In order to escape the guilt in his heart, Baron Leo chose to join the army of the kingdom and fled his hometown. When I retired and returned home, I knew that Mina had married far away. In this regard, Baron Leo actually breathed a sigh of relief. It was just an accident. Baron Leo said bitterly. But you killed him. Mina just held the two knives firmly in both hands. Decades have passed, and her killing intent towards Leo has not changed at all. Baron Leo sighed. Yes, no matter what the reason is, killing is killing, and when a person dies, he is dead. However, Baron Leo was not surprised that they would appear here and oppose him, whether it was Knight Vaden or Mina. Only Nisan. Baron Leo trusted Nisan so much. Nisan is the only Baron Leo who is willing to entrust his life. Nisan, why did you betray me? Baron Leo waited for Nisan's answer. Leo, we are indeed best friends. Nisan looked at Baron Leo with complicated eyes. I have paid so much for you, and I will follow you to your territory. Become stronger. Didn't we do that? Baron Leo asked back. But how did you repay me? A guard. Nisan roared, you actually let me be the goalkeeper. Let me train soldiers for you. Hee hee ha ha ha. Baron Leo's eyes dimmed. I didn't expect you to betray me for this reason. Baron Leo originally thought that he had made the best arrangement for Nisan. You are not even willing to give me a knight title. After Bob's death, you would rather let Nikan, who has just advanced to become a quasi-knight, take charge of a knight title than choose me. Nisan said angrily. Nisan is Baron Leo's most trusted person. Therefore, Baron Leo made Nisan the captain of the guards, managed the armed forces of Albert Castle, and asked Nisan to help train the soldiers. Because Nisan has no descendants. So Baron Leo asked Will to be close to Nisan, to treat Nisan like a father to Will. Baron Leo thought that he had made the best arrangement for Nisan. But in Nisan's view, it turned out that Baron Leo looked down on him, distrusted him, and insulted him. If you want to become a knight, just tell me. Yes, as long as Nisan expresses a little bit, Baron Leo will definitely not be stingy with a knight title. No knight territory? Big deal, grab one. But Baron Leo also knew that Nisan was a proud man. Nisan never lowered his attitude towards him, so Nisan has always been hiding his inner dissatisfaction with Baron Leo. Until the death of Knight Bob, Baron Leo let Nikan manage the territory of Knight Bob. Nisan's dissatisfaction with Baron Leo reached its peak. Knight Vaden aimed at this point and successfully persuaded Nisan to surrender. At this time, do you think I will still believe your nonsense? Nisan sneered at Baron Leo's words. Yeah, it's come to this point. Baron Leo's eyes were filled with despair. Baron Leo's eyes swept over Vaden, Mina, and Nisan one by one. The former best friend, the most trusted person, and the former subordinates betrayed him one by one. Lost 2 sons. Lost his beloved wife Delia. With a broken right arm, his strength fell from the peak of the night to the middle and upper reaches of the night. In Baron Leo's heart, even a decadent thought of it's better to die, let them kill them. But the face of a person came to mind. Let Baron Leo ignite the power of production again. Will, I still have will. For will, I must not die. Baron Leo held the big sword tightly in his left hand, and his dim eyes regained their light. Will? You should advise you to give up. Knight Vaden sneered, do you know why we chose to do it today? Because today is the day Will returns from Moonset City. Could it be you? Baron Leo was shocked. A 15-year-old knight, the son-in-law of the Campere family, may become a great knight in the future. Do you think we will let this kind of disaster go unnoticed? Knight Vaden said. Baron Leo looked at Nisan. Talking about Will, Nisan's face was also a little moved, but it was only for a moment. To me, Will is really like my own son. I couldn't kill him, so I let Grote go. Grote. Baron Leo roared through gritted teeth. Now, have you also tasted the feeling of being killed by the person you love the most? Looking at Baron Leo's sad eyes, Mina smiled happily. I can't die, and neither will Will. Baron Leo raised his sword. Will has the strength of a knight. If he runs away with all his strength, Grote can't kill him. Baron Leo suddenly attacked Mina. Holding 2 sharp knives, Mina struggled to resist Baron Leo's onslaught. Mina is just a junior knight, the weakest existence among the 3. Even facing Baron Leo with a broken arm, Mina couldn't hold on for too long. Do you think we don't exist? Knight Vaden's figure fluttered, and he appeared behind Baron Leo without a sound. Baron Leo got short and dodged Knight Vaden's sword. Knight Vaden's sword was poisoned. Baron Leo is not a 4-armed ghost ape. As long as Baron Leo is slashed by Knight Vaden, his strength will definitely plummet. Ha! There was a roar like thunder. An ape cut down towards Baron Leo from top to bottom. Baron Leo barely blocked Nisen's attack, but his body was sent flying by a huge force, hit the wall, and spat out a mouthful of blood. For Will, I want to live. Baron Leo found a gap and escaped from the study. Outside the study, there were screams everywhere. Lord Baron, save me. A beautiful woman asked Baron Leo for advice. A rebel stabs the woman with a single shot. The rebels also looked at Baron Leo provocatively, and gave Baron Leo a middle finger. Bara. Baron Leo looked at the screaming woman on the ground in pain. It was Baron Leo's favorite mistress. Bara was still screaming and did not die immediately. The rebels fired a few more shots. Bara's screams gradually weakened and disappeared until she died. Baron Leo's heart was burning with anger, and he wanted to finish the hateful enemy in front of him with a sword. But the other party is also a reserve knight. If you don't use your vitality, it will take some time to kill the other party. But using vitality will consume a lot of stamina. Seeing that the three knights of Vadin were about to catch up, Baron Leo's expression changed, and he turned around and fled quickly outside the castle. Behind him, came the mocking laughter of the rebels. Baron Leo fled frantically. But Baron Leo was injured and his speed slowed down a lot. Knight Vadin, who was the first to catch up with Baron Leo, slashed at Baron Leo's back with a sword. As a last resort, Baron Leo could only stop to block the attack of Vadin Knight. Taking this opportunity, Nisen and Mina also caught up. Don't try to escape. Mina held two knives and spun around Baron Leo, the deadly sharp blades constantly attacking Baron Leo's vitals. Leo, give up. Nisen slashed at Baron Leo with a sword. Nisen's strength was originally weaker than Baron Leo's. Now that Baron Leo had broken his arm, his strength was no longer comparable to Nisen's. In addition, Baron Leo could barely defend against the siege of three knights. Baron Leo held on with great difficulty. During the chaotic battle, Knight Vadin found Baron Leo's flaw, and cut Baron Leo's body with his rapier. Well. Baron Leo paused, his eyes blurred. Damn it, I've been poisoned. Baron Leo looked at the three approaching people. Even if I die today, I still have to hold my back. Baron Leo thought hard in his heart. Chapter 31. When Will hurried back to Albert Castle. The castle was in chaos, with blood and minced meat everywhere. The guards and the rebels fought everything, and the rebels clearly had the upper hand. Die. With Will on board, the tables turned. The guards had the upper hand at once. After the rebels were almost killed, the remaining Will was left for the guards to finish off. He turned around and ran towards the direction where Baron Leo and Cavalier Vadin fled as pointed out by the guards. Since the four of Baron Leo were fighting and fleeing, there was a lot of movement, and Doi Will followed the traces left by them all the way, so there was no need to worry about going wrong. Father, don't die. Even Baron Leo, who was in the period of complete victory, faced the siege of the three knights, but was defeated and had no choice but to escape. Not to mention the fact that Baron Leo's combat power has dropped significantly after he lost his hand. After 10 minutes of chasing, Will heard a sparring sound coming from ahead. Will swept away the leaves, and the figures of the four fighting fiercely appeared in Will's eyes. Seeing Will, Baron Leo was excited. Will, run away and return to Moonset City. As long as you are still alive, the Albert family still has hope. Looking at Baron Leo, who was covered in blood and dying from serious injuries, Will's eyes burst out with murderous intent. You all have to die. Will roared and rushed forward. You are Will? Leo's son? Mina stood in front of Will holding two knives. Leo, see how I killed your son, and feel the pain of my past. Mina licked her lips cruelly, staring at Will with unfriendly eyes. Will is very strong, be careful. Nisen reminded. Will, run away. Baron Leo mustered his last strength and wanted to rush to Will, but was blocked by the Vadin Knight. I heard that your strength is good? I didn't expect to be able to escape from Grote's hands, but your luck is over. Mina sneered and brandished two knives at Will. In Mina's opinion, Will may be very strong, after all, even Nisen praised Will. But that was only during the competition. Now it's life and death. This is a completely different field from the competition. Moreover, after the battle with Grote and the half-day journey, Will's physical strength should have been exhausted, so he couldn't be her opponent. Die. Will's hand trembled, and the sharp sword in his hand immediately turned into 10 sword flowers, respectively enveloping Mina's 10 vital points. In the face of an opponent stronger than myself, you actually use this kind of scattered attack? It really is a pampered noble young master. Mina looked at Will with contempt. Let me teach you what a real attack is. Mina's double sword suddenly turned into two thin lines. Man, this is how you kill. Mina originally thought that he would have to fight Will hard. But Will had let her down so badly. To use such a fancy and impractical attack on her. Mina's two swords slashed towards Will like a bamboo, and met Will's two swords. In Mina's prediction, Will's sword flower was vulnerable. The weak one is you. What? Mina's double knives, which gathered all her strength, were actually blocked by Will's two swords. Will's sword pierced 3 holes in Mina's body in an instant. Do you dare to block my attack? Stupid. Will kicked Mina's body away and walked towards Baron Leo. Will, you have become stronger. Neeson blocked Will with a horizontal sword. Uncle Neeson, kill yourself. Will looked at Neeson with complicated eyes. I can keep your whole body. Will has great respect for trust. In Will's heart, Neeson is even closer than Baron Leo. But Neeson betrayed. Betrayed the Albert family. Betrayed Baron Leo. Also betrayed Will. But Will, still nostalgic. Will doesn't want to fight Neeson, doesn't want to kill someone he respects like a father. Arrogant child. Neeson's vitality was stimulated all over his body. Although this technique of exploding the vitality of the whole body can burst out amazing power in an instant, it also consumes a lot, more than 10 times the vitality of ordinary use. Apparently, Neeson sees Will as a real rival. Well. Will sighed and held out his left hand. On Will's left hand, a solid white light condensed. Neeson swung his sword with all his strength, but it was actually blocked by Will's hand. And it's not an ordinary block, but grabbing the blade of the sword with bare hands, holding the sword with absolute strength. Armor of glory? Great Knight? Neeson was stunned. Amidst Neeson's shock, Will pierced Neeson's heart with a sword. Goodbye, Uncle Neeson. Will looked at Neeson sadly. Before Neeson died, he smiled at Will. Will couldn't understand the smile. Knight Vaden saw that Mina and Neeson had died under Will's hands successively, and heard Neeson's words before he died. Knight Vaden's face changed drastically, and he turned and fled towards the jungle. Great Knight, how could Will become a great knight? Knight Vaden's heart jumped wildly. Will only became a quasi-knight a month ago. There is only one great knight in the entire province of Doria. Will is very talented. Baron Vaden has to admit that Will is very likely to become a great knight in the future. But definitely not now. Where are you going? In front of the vaulting knight escaping, Will leaned against a tree, pointing the tip of his sword obliquely at the ground. Knight Vaden stopped, with a resigned expression on his face. Can you agree to my last request? Explain. Leave Philly alone. Philly must die. Will said relentlessly, your family members can let some people leave the territory. Philly is very talented. It will not be difficult for Philip to become a knight in the future. Will never let go of such a potential enemy with talent and potential. But Will can't destroy the waiting knight family. Because Vaden Belen's family has served the Albert family for generations. The two races have been married many times, and their blood has long been connected. Regardless of each other. Many people from the Belen family are seniors respected by Will, and they are Will's childhood playmates. Therefore, Will only kills the current talkers of the Burin family, those who have the power to resist, and those who have potential. Fend for itself. Thank you. Knight Vaden drew his sword and killed himself. Will placed the bodies of Varden, Neeson, and Mina together. Baron Leo looked at the 3 dead people with sad eyes, and there was almost no desire to live in his eyes. Father, the family still needs you. Will said, patting Baron Leo on the shoulder. Now the family already has you. You are already a great knight, and you will lead the family to glory in the future. My mission is over. Baron Leo looked up at the sky. A flock of snow-white birds flew across the sky. Don't you want to witness the rise of the Albert family? Don't you want to have grandchildren? I still need you, and Emma needs you too. Will knew that Baron Leo's heart was dead. Baron Leo must be given hope of survival. Haha, yes, there are still many things that I need to do. Baron Leo finally had a glimmer of business in his eyes. Will supported Baron Leo and walked towards the castle. At the gate of the castle, everyone was waiting there. There are guards, servants, and relatives. Standing at the front were Tracy and Betty. Neither of them was injured. They didn't know where to hide. They were lucky to escape the catastrophe. Master Will is back. The Baron is still alive. Very good. People cheered. Everyone surrounded Will and the two with tears in their eyes. Is Grandpa Barry there? Will asked. Master Barry, the other said bitterly. Will's eyes darkened, and he didn't expect that kind and amiable Grandpa Barry to be gone. Will handed Baron Leo to a guard, and ordered, carry father to the room, do some simple treatment on the wound, and I'll go find some herbs. The only pharmacist in Albert Castle died, and it was up to Will to save Baron Leo. Baron Leo's injuries looked terrifying, but they were all minor injuries. The poison of Vadenite is the most serious. Will's medical skills are not what they used to be today. Will found some herbs in Grandpa Barry's hut, and fed them to Baron Leo. Baron Leo's health improved a lot immediately. Let Baron Leo take a good rest. Will continued to treat other injured people in the castle non-stop. At the same time, he ordered people to clean the castle and dispose of the corpses. Also let people go to Nikon's territory to notify. In the evening, the matter of the rebellion was temporarily settled. Baron Leo stood weakly on the main seat in the hall. On one side, sat Will, on the other side, sat Nikon, who had just rushed back. Behind Will stood Tracy and Betty. The people in the hall reported to Baron Leo one by one. How many people died? How much is lost? How much property was lost? How to deal with the families of the dead and injured? How to deal with the rebel soldiers, and how to deal with the families of the rebel soldiers? Etc. Killing the traitors and suppressing the rebellion is just the beginning. There are many things to deal with next. Baron Leo browsed through the documents handed over by the servant one by one, and after reading them, he handed them to Will and asked Will for his opinion. Everyone can see that Will is the actual manager of the current Albert family. Will dealt with various problems in a strange way. From time to time, ask for Baron Leo's opinion and ask for Baron Leo's assistance. Unknowingly, the time has reached midnight. Come here first today, let's go back. After everyone retreated, Will, Baron Leo and Nikon came to the study. We have lost 4 knights now, and our strength has dropped too much. Nikon frowned. Beside the territory, a family like Evelyn will definitely take this opportunity to invade. What do you think should be done? Will asked. Shrinking forces, we only need to control the town of Lent. We just need to wait for Master Will to grow up, recruit more knights, and get back the lost territory. It's just a matter of words. Nikon said without hesitation. Nikon's words make sense. But that is on the premise that Will hasn't grown up yet. Strength limits Nikon's thinking. Tomorrow, I will go to the Evelyn family, and they will fund us with a batch of supplies to rebuild our home, Will said. Evelyn didn't take advantage of the fire and robbed us, but also funded us? Nikon seemed to have heard a big joke. They will. Will's body was condensed with a solid white light. Big night? Nikon took a breath. Chapter 32. The 1-month deadline has come, and Rep arrives as promised. In the study. The sun was shining brightly, and golden beams of light fell from the windows, revealing every detail in the room. Will and Rip sat in the room. Will poured a cup of tea for Rip. Master Rip, should you tell me everything? Have you finished drinking the black stock solution? Rip asked while drinking tea. It's over. Will took out the empty bottle. Let me take a look at your chest. Rep just glanced at the empty bottle and said immediately. Will was prepared. Will unbuttons his clothes, exposing his chest. At the heart of the chest, there is a palm-sized bluish-black pattern. It's just that the texture is very light, if you don't look carefully, you can't see it at all. Rep frowned, why are the lines so light? I don't know either. Will looked at Rep nervously. I heard that you have advanced to a great knight? Rep asked, changing the subject. Thanks to the black stock solution, without the help of the black stock solution, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to advance to the Grand Knight so quickly. What Will said was true. The black stock solution can greatly improve the physical fitness, although the side effects are also great. The color of your poisonous pattern is very light, maybe it's because you are a great knight. Rep said uncertainly. Is there a problem? Will asked worriedly. That's a good thing, replied Rip. Will breathed a sigh of relief. Will was also afraid that Rep felt that the toxin was too little, and wondered whether Will had finished the bottle of black stock solution. Do you know why I let you drink the black stock solution? Rep asked. I don't know. Will shook his head. Rep unbuttoned his coat, leaving his upper body naked. Will was surprised to find that Rep's body was densely covered with fine blue and black lines, from the abdomen to the neck, all over the body. Is this all caused by the black stock solution? Will asked in surprise. Will originally thought that the black stock solution was just a test for him by Rep. The purpose is to see if Will is really determined, just like in the TV novels I watched before, when some high-level people choose apprentices, they will make their children commit suicide and jump off the cliff to do some deadly tasks, so as to test the apprentice's determination. Unexpectedly, it was not. Rep himself also drank the black stock solution. Looking at Lei Pu's dense poisonous lines all over his body, Lei Pu must have drunk a lot of black stock solution. Do you still remember what I told you before? The source of our demon hunter's strength? Rep asked. It is by learning monsters and obtaining magic power. Will replied immediately. Rip unwrapped the bandage around his waist. On Lei Pu's abdomen, there is a dark purple flesh that is obviously different from the skin next to it. The piece of flesh wriggled, like a huge worm desperately trying to get into Rep's body. Magic power is the natural power of monsters. Study? Can humans learn to breathe with gills like fish? Rep said. Will already understood. So you want to transplant the flesh and blood of the monster into your body? Will took a breath. Yes, this is the source of the demon hunter's true power, the pathetic true face of the demon hunter. Rep laughed at himself. Rip put on his clothes and sat back in his seat. Will silently. Rep continued to explain, the flesh and blood of a monster is far from what a weak human body can bear, even if you are as strong as a great knight. Therefore, it is necessary to change the human body, and it is necessary to fight fire with fire. In fact, the reason why demon hunters cannot live beyond the age of 30 is not because of the transplanted monster's flesh and blood, but because of the black stock solution. The large amount of black stock solution used has made the toxin of the black stock solution penetrate into our bone marrow. But this kind of toxin is necessary for us to transplant the flesh and blood of monsters and obtain magic power. It's really sad. As long as you become a third-class demon hunter, wouldn't that be enough? Will asked. That's what I said, but it's not easy to become a third-class demon hunter. Lei Pu shook his head. Uncle Reap, you should be a third-class demon hunter, right? Will asked cautiously. Because looking at Lei Pu's appearance, he looks about 40 or 50 years old. I was lucky. I became a third-class demon hunter before I was 30. Rep looked quite proud. I don't know how strong the third-class demon hunter is. This is what Will is most concerned about. Paying such a high price, risking your life, isn't it for strength? You knights have cultivated to the extreme, how strong can you be? A great knight can bear 1,000 caddies, run like an ordinary person, and can deal with 5 to 10 knights at the same time, and can fight 50-50 with 300 well-equipped, well-trained and well-coordinated troops. Will thought for a while and replied. Since Will was promoted to the Grand Knight, his physical fitness has no longer increased naturally. This shows that the knight breathing method that Will practiced, the advanced knight has come to an end. However, through drinking the black stock solution and practicing the Wei-style disinfection method, Will's physical fitness can still be continuously improved. Will felt that his hard power was a little weaker than that of the four-armed ghost ape. And the four-armed ghost ape is probably the middle level of the Great Knight. As long as Will drinks another bottle of black stock solution, or practices the Wei-style disinfection method for half a year, he should be able to become a middle-level Great Knight, reaching the level of a four-armed ghost ape. That's all? Rep asked. It's already very powerful, okay? Whether it's 5 to 10 knights or 300 elite soldiers, it's hard to come by. Even if this is the case, the Great Knights must be willing to fight you head-on. In case the Great Knights see that something is wrong, they will run away and defeat them one by one. You have nothing to do with the big knights. Half a month ago, Grote led 50 soldiers to attack Will's convoy. If that time, Grote did not underestimate Will. Directly asking 50 people to join forces to surround and kill Will, with Grote himself assisting him, Will must have had a tough fight. But who can know that Will is a 15-year-old boy? The young man who only advanced to the rank of Quasi-Knight a few days ago is actually a great knight? So, 50 soldiers, scattered around the wagon by Grote, prevented Will from escaping. Grote himself, at first, only watched from the sidelines. He didn't appear on the stage until Will used his vitality many times and was about to exhaust. All kinds of wrong actions led to an overwhelming massacre on Will's side. To ordinary people, the Great Knight is already extremely powerful, but compared to you demon hunters, they are just weak. Will's desire for the power of demon hunters became even more intense. The Great Night is not the end of the night's cultivation, right? Aren't there still paladins on it? Leip wondered. Paladin? The legendary paladin who can turn an enemy army by himself and turn the outcome of a battle of 10,000 people with his own strength? Will's breathing was a little short. On the bright side, hidden masters are excluded. There are no paladins in the Cairo Empire. Paladins have not been seen for hundreds of years. It's the paladin you mentioned. Although I haven't seen it with my own eyes, I've heard that the strength of a paladin is about the same as that of a second-class demon hunter. Lei Pu nodded. After listening to Rep's words, Will's mood was very complicated. According to Lei Pu, the paladin knight is not weak, and is about the same as the peak of the second-class demon hunter. But it is too difficult to become a paladin. In the entire Cairo Empire, it should be said that the three kingdoms of Cairo, Litoya and Amona, the paladins are all legendary figures hundreds of years ago, and there is not a single living paladin now. And such a rare and powerful paladin is nothing more than a peak second-class demon hunter. But does the Great Knight want to be an ordinary second-class demon hunter, or an elementary second-class demon hunter? Will asked. It depends on the situation. Due to the relationship between transplanting the flesh and blood of different monsters, demon hunters have various abilities, and some demon hunters' abilities are not very suitable for frontal combat. Rep did not deny Will's statement. Will can't wait to become a witcher. One must know that a demon hunter only has a lifespan of 30, so the sooner one becomes a demon hunter, the better. Do we need to find the flesh and blood of monsters? How should we transplant it? Will asked quickly. Don't worry. Rep signaled Will to calm down. Before transplanting the monster's flesh and blood, we need to spread the toxin of the black stock solution all over the body, so that the toxin can penetrate into the blood vessels and bone marrow. After drinking the black stock solution, the poison lines are so shallow. Is there something wrong? Will asked worriedly. It's okay. 99% of the black stock solution is toxins that are harmful to the human body and need to be excreted. There will be poisonous lines on the body, which is a symbol of the toxins being unclean. Lei Pu explained. There must be a corresponding method for detoxification, right? Will asked. Sure, otherwise so many toxins will accumulate in the body, and people will die before becoming a demon hunter. Then what should I do? In our demon hunter practice, there is a training method called Ji Luo's primary body training method, which can strengthen the body, quickly absorb the essence in the black stock solution, and eliminate unnecessary toxins in the black stock solution. Rep laughed. Road. It's actually a practice. Will breathed a sigh of relief. Jello's basic body training method is still quite difficult. You have to be prepared. Many people were tortured to death by the toxin of the black stock solution because they failed to learn it for a long time. Rep reminded Weldao. I will work hard. Will said seriously. After taking out a bottle of black stock solution and a piece of cloth with something written on it to Will, Rep said, once you drink the black stock solution, you can't stop halfway, or your body will be poisoned and it won't work. Therefore, you must learn Ji Luo's primary body training method within 3 months, otherwise you will only be poisoned to death. Will solemnly accepted what Rip handed over. The black stock solution is in the bottle, and the cloth is the material of the black stock solution. Leip pointed to the medicine list. The black stock solution is a relatively simple drug. If you have to drink it for several years in a row, you should learn how to make it yourself. Good. Will opened the medicine list and looked at it, and found that the ingredients on it were quite common. You can find most of them within the town of Lent. Some slightly rare ones can also be bought in Moonset City. Chapter 33. After Will put away the things that Rep handed over, he asked another question in his mind. Do you know about wizards and bloodline users? You actually know wizards and bloodlines? Leip was a little surprised. The so-called bloodlines actually mean that after we transplant the flesh and blood of monsters, the abilities have a certain probability of being passed on, and those who awaken the abilities in the descendants can be called bloodlines. Bloodlines are born demon hunters. There is no need to take black stock solution, there is number 30-year life limit, and the strength is much stronger than ordinary demon hunters. And the wizard? What happened to the wizard? In ancient times, when humans and monsters were fighting each other, at the beginning, there were only demon hunters and no wizards. It's just that some demon hunters are stronger than ordinary demon hunters, so they call themselves wizards. The original first class, second class, and third class demon hunters are called first class apprentices, second class apprentices, and third class apprentices, and those above are formal wizards. Rep said helplessly. Will's eyes lit up, and he asked, above third class demon hunters, are there official wizards? Yes, after reaching the realm of wizards, not only is his strength far superior to that of ordinary people, but his lifespan can also be extended to an astonishing 300 years. Lei Piyu's eyes were full of longing. Why not Will? Rep patted Will on the shoulder and encouraged him, don't think about such distant things, becoming a demon hunter, reaching the realm of a third-class demon hunter, and getting rid of the curse of 30 years old is what you should do now. Maid. I know. Will nodded. Will knew that one bite would not make him fat. The road has to be walked step by step, and the meal has to be eaten bite by bite. Now, what Will should do is to learn how to refine the black stock solution, practice the zero elementary body training method, and transplant the flesh and blood of monsters, so as to become a third-class demon hunter. Finally, consider the matter of wizards. I don't know how long it will take to start transplanting the flesh of monsters. I wonder if the flesh and blood of the four-armed ghost ape in my house can be transplanted? Don't worry, the toxins of the black stock solution haven't accumulated to a certain level, so transplanting the flesh and blood of monsters is just courting death. How long will that take? Generally speaking, you need to drink 30 bottles of black stock solution. If you drink 1 bottle a month, it will take about 3 years. Can I have a quick drink? It depends on how fast you can eliminate the toxins of the black stock solution. If you are proficient in Ji Luo's elementary training method, it is not impossible to drink 30 bottles of the black stock solution within a year. Will smiled down. It turns out that as long as this is enough, isn't that a very simple thing? Demon hunters already have a lifespan limit of 30 years. It takes 3 years to drink the black stock solution before they start transplanting monster flesh and blood. Isn't it a waste of time? Will couldn't be that stupid. Next, Rep began to explain the Jello elementary exercise method to Will. Jello's elementary exercise method is very profound and complicated, and the principle is completely different from the exercises Will has practiced. The night breathing method is to guide the vitality hidden in the body through breathing. The Jello elementary exercise method aims to strengthen the vascular muscles by exercising the flesh and blood muscles and allowing the vascular muscles to absorb energy. It's just that when practicing Jello's elementary exercise method, the blood vessels and muscles will also absorb some impurities in addition to absorbing energy. These impurities will settle deep in the flesh and blood, and over time, they will cause permanent damage to the human body. Moreover, because there are too many impurities in the body, it is extremely difficult for those who practice the Jello elementary exercise method to stimulate their vitality. It can both expel toxins and absorb toxins. It's really a paradoxical technique. Will said speechlessly. This is the crystallization of the wisdom of countless demon hunters. It can not only absorb the essence that demon hunters need in the black stock solution, but also eliminate the harmful part of the black stock solution to the greatest extent. Lei Pu explained. As Rep said, Jello's elementary exercise method is indeed very powerful, and it is not an exaggeration to say that it is the crystallization of human wisdom. Moreover, the body forging method is very obvious for strengthening strength, which is far above the breathing method. But the more you practice the exercise method, the stronger your physique is, the harder it is to stimulate your vitality, and the farther you are from the road of knighthood. Knight, what is truly powerful is not strength, but the application of vitality. Now Will's strength is only a little weaker than the four-armed ghost ape. But in terms of pure strength and physical fitness, Will is still far weaker than the four-armed ghost ape. Will estimated that even a paladin could easily kill the four-armed ghost ape, but in terms of pure physical fitness, he might not be as good as the four-armed ghost ape. Body forging method and breathing method have their own advantages and disadvantages. In terms of combat effectiveness, breathing method is better. But the function of body forging is never fighting. It was prepared for transplanting the flesh and blood of monsters. I'm just worried that after practicing the physical exercise method, it will become difficult to stimulate vitality in the future, and maybe the strength will decline. Will said depressingly. You don't have to worry about this. I know quite a few demon hunters, and they also practice breathing techniques, which can also stimulate vitality. It's just that it will be difficult for you to improve your night cultivation in the future. It's good that you can still use your vitality. Will breathed a sigh of relief. Will has practiced breathing method for more than 10 years, and he already has considerable affection for breathing method. Will would be very sad if the breathing method would decline or even disappear after practicing the physical exercise method. It's okay now, it doesn't affect the normal strength, it just affects the next step of the breathing method. Will is not very worried about the fact that the knight's cultivation cannot go any further. Practicing physical exercise, the physique becomes stronger, the vitality will also become stronger, and the number of times to stimulate the vitality will also increase. In disguise, it is equivalent to a knight who has improved his cultivation base. In the future, will become stronger all the way, reaching the intermediate, advanced, and peak levels of the Grand Knight, but he will not be able to aspire to the realm of the Holy Knight. Rep continued to explain the essence, movements, and precautions of Jello's primary exercise method to Will. The exercise method is divided into two parts, dynamic work and static work, with dynamic work as the main part and static work as the supplement. It's the exact opposite of breathing. The 26-character formula for static work corresponds to the 26 movements for dynamic work. Every movement can trigger the muscles in different parts of the body to absorb energy and achieve the effect of exercise. Simple one action, not difficult to learn. It only takes 1 hour to memorize the movements and formulas one by one. In 3 hours, every movement can be practiced well. After 5 hours, every movement can induce muscle and achieve the effect of muscle training. But only when the 26 movements are connected together, so that the different muscles of the whole body surge in order and absorb energy, can the full range of exercise effects be achieved. Practicing a certain movement alone will not only fail to achieve the effect of cultivation. Also, because a certain part of the muscle is too strong and unbalanced, when it is contracted and stressed, it will strain the muscles on the side. I've already told you about the content of Jello's elementary exercise method. You can practice it first. If you have any questions, ask me tomorrow. Rep left the study, and Will was studying Jello's elementary exercise method in the study alone. After practicing the night breathing method and the Weishi disinfection method, Will has gained a lot of experience in muscle control. Therefore, the speed of practicing Jello's primary exercise method is very fast. In less than an hour, Will was able to use all 26 movements very well. Next, is how to connect the 26 movements together. This step took Will a full 5 hours. Until the sun is westward, it is nothing more than making the 7 movements coherent together. It may take 3 to 5 days to make the 26 movements coherent. Let's do this for today. Will took a break and walked out of the study. Dinner, under the light of a large chandelier. 11 people dined at a long wooden table. Only those most trusted by Baron Leo and Will can dine at this long table. Not even some mistresses and children of Baron Leo. Although Will invited Rip to share dinner with him, Rip declined. Betty and Tracy were sitting beside Will on the long table. Both Betty and Tracy looked reserved. Although there was a smile in their eyes that couldn't be concealed, they didn't dare to express it. Originally, Betty and Tracy were not qualified to sit here, but they were able to sit here because of Will. Especially Trish. Will has already exempted Tracy from the position of maid. Tracy is already a member of the Albert family and is no longer a maid. It's just that Tracy still takes care of Will's daily life as before. Master Will, the Evelyn family, and the funds of the surrounding baronial families have already been in place, and their messengers expressed that they will fully support the construction of our Albert family. Nicken looked at Will with admiration. After the 4 knights Vaden, Neeson, Bob, and Grote died, Nicken thought that the territory of the Albert family would be annexed by other families. The Albert family has since entered the stage of endurance and accumulation of strength. Unexpectedly, Will himself has the strength of a great knight. It's just that after walking around the various families, the Baron families who were originally adjacent to the Albert family and were hostile to the Albert family suddenly succumbed. Will nodded. What about the others? How are the things I said going? The night training base has already started to be established. We have notified the surrounding villages. A total of 34 children are willing to come to our base for training. People from other territories also had ideas, and they asked me if I would accept them. Why not accept it? As long as the family background is clean and the age is appropriate, all will be accepted. Will replied. Master Will, I don't quite understand. In the past, when we trained knights, each one was selected by thousands of people. Those who were selected had to pay a large amount of fees every year. Now, we actually accept everything, including food and wages. Wouldn't this be too preferential treatment? Nicken was puzzled. Nicken, your vision is still too small. Will smiled. What we need are talents, the more talents the better, we only have 3 knight leaders now, what about the next 4? 5 or 10? Master, you mean? Nikon's eyes lit up. Knights can be recruited from outsiders, but soldiers, especially upper-middle-class soldiers, are better trained by themselves. Will summed up the losses of this rebellion. This time, of course, it was because the 3 knights rebelled at the same time that the Albert family was completely destroyed. But it also showed that the soldiers under the Albert family had no sense of belonging to the family at all. Whoever helps whom. A soldier is not a tool, not a slave, but an important cornerstone of a family. Soldiers' loyalty and sense of belonging are extremely important. This kind of feeling is best cultivated from an early age. Moreover, if the knights in the territory can be cultivated by themselves, that is naturally the best. Those recruited from outside cannot be fully trusted. You settle down first, and I will give you the teaching materials in 2 days. Knight training is definitely indispensable, but cultural courses are also necessary. This world doesn't pay much attention to cultural lessons. Even the nobles only require literacy, and most ordinary people don't even know a single big character. I have no place to study, and I am not interested in learning. Most people think that instead of spending time reading books, it is more useful to practice night breathing twice. This idea is wrong. If you don't read, how do you know what loyalty is? It's good to use the method of the monarch, the minister, and the minister selectively. Chapter 34. Spring rain is like silk. Outside the window, light rain was pattering down. The raindrops fell on the eaves, making a tinkling sound. In the study, Will closed his eyes and folded his arms forward. Take a deep breath. Will took this breath for more than 3 minutes. The belly slowly bulged, and it didn't stop until it looked like a pregnant woman in July and August. Will bent over, threw his body forward, and lightly pressed his hands on the ground in front of him. His whole body was like a docile cat lying on the ground. Will's bulging stomach slowly shrunk. The gas in the stomach seemed to be squeezed to the limbs, and 4 bulges of the same size slid from the abdomen to the limbs. Will's hands and feet swelled up like balloons. Will inhales again, his belly slowly distending. Sometimes Will stood up, sometimes lay down, and sometimes danced. After every movement, Will's body will swell a little. First, the hands and feet, to the thighs and arms, to the shoulders and waist, and finally only the heart and head remained unchanged. It's the most critical time. Will lifted his spirits. Will focused on 4 things, and the 4 consciousnesses moved from the limbs to the heart respectively, and with the movement of the consciousness, there were small bulges under the skin. There seemed to be 4 thin snakes swimming in Will's body. The thin snake kept hitting the heart. With each impact, Will's face turned paler. At the 8th impact, Will succeeded, and his chest swelled up as if blown up. Will, who was in his early 1.7 meters, was now 1.9 meters tall. The muscles all over his body were knotted, and the muscles were huge, as if they had been injected with gas. Only the head still maintains its original appearance. With delicate features and a hulking back, he may be the current Will. Will's eyes snapped open, and he took 3 breaths. Every time I inhale, I feel like there is a white puff flying into Will's mouth. After inhaling 3 times, Will's body swelled up again, and his height exceeded the 2-meter mark. Every muscle in the body is like a balloon inflated to its limit. It seemed that Will's whole body would explode instantly with just a slight poke with a thin needle. Call. Will began to exhale. This breath is extremely long and long. It took 10 minutes before it stopped. And Will's body also returned to its original state, a slender and elegant noble young master. The 26 movements of Ji Luo's primary body training method have finally been integrated. I planned to learn it in 3 days, but I didn't expect that the difficulty was beyond my imagination. It actually took me 5 days. There is no difference between the body forging method and the breathing method. The problem is that the breathing method Will practiced is just bad, and the highest can only practice the breathing method of the Great Knight. The body training method given to Will by the Demon Hunter Rep is a body training method that has been improved by countless generations of demon hunters and can be called the crystallization of the wisdom of the demon hunters. The difficulty and power are naturally far higher than Will's breathing method. Will closed his eyes and felt the changes in his body. I've just managed to integrate the 26 movements of Ji Luo's body training method. It's barely an introduction. I didn't expect my strength to increase by 2 layers at once. The improvement of strength is not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. Like the 100-meter sprint, the gap of 1 second makes a huge difference. Will's strength has only increased by 2 layers, but his combat power has increased by more than 50%. Now let me meet the 4-armed ghost ape again, and I can easily defeat him. Will feels the future is brighter than ever. Strength, only strength can protect your family, control your own future, and control your own life. Blue Spirit. A translucent interface instantly appeared in front of Will. Basic Swordsmanship, Level 5. Basic Archery, Level 5. Breath Hold, 5th rank. Knight's Breath, Level 5. Granville Disinfection Method, Level 5. Jarrow's Elementary Forging Method, Level 0. Seal of Alder, Level 0. Source Power, 437. Will happily looked at Lan Ling's interface, especially the 437 points of source power. That was what Will got from killing the rebels half a month ago. Through that battle, Will already knew the calculation method of Yuan Li. Before, Will wondered why some of the people killed got 7 points and some got 8 points. Less, only 6 o'clock? Many, up to 9 o'clock. And the 4-armed ghost ape contributed a full 30 points. Soul? Strength? Vitality? Will began to think that it might have something to do with personal strength. Because the strongest 4-armed ghost ape, the source of power is given the most. But it wasn't until Will killed the Quasi-Knight and the Knight that he realized that it wasn't the same thing at all. Especially when killing Groat Knight, the source power was only 6 points. This unscientific. Afterwards, after Will's careful analysis and calculation, came to a conclusion. Each person's source of strength may be related to lifespan. Under normal circumstances, the lifespan of human beings is only 70 or 80 years old, and the longest lifespan can exceed 100. The 4-armed ghost ape, as a monster, can live up to 300 years according to ancient records. Therefore, source power is related to longevity. Every 10 years of life, a little source power is converted. Why does the Groat Knight only have 6 points of source power? Will learned that the Groat Knight had been fatally injured, causing the Groat Knight's strength to remain stuck in the middle reaches of the knights, unable to go any further. Yuan Li is only 6 points, probably because of this. Original power is related to lifespan, and a person's lifespan can be changed. Sometimes it will increase, sometimes it will decrease, but generally speaking, most of them will decrease. There is one more question. Killing people has source power, and killing 4-armed ghost apes also has source power, but killing ordinary livestock does not have source power, and killing goblin commanders does not have source power. What is the mechanism for obtaining source power? Will still has a lot of puzzles about the way the Lan Ling system obtains the source power. It can only be analyzed slowly later. Now, upgrade Ji Luo's primary body training method. Whether to upgrade Jarrow's primary forging method, yes/no. Yes. Consumes 5 points of energy. Update successed. Jarrow's elementary forging method, level 1. Will clicked 4 more times on the upgrade plus sign behind the body training skill bar. Consumes 10 points of energy. Update successed. Consumes 20 points of source power. Update successed. Consumes 40 points of source power. Update successed. Consumes 80 points of source power. Update successed. Upgrading Ji Luo's primary body training method from level 0 to level 5 consumed a total of 155 points of source power in Will. I have learned dozens of health-preserving methods, but it only took 30 points of source power, and it only took more than 20 points to upgrade the Knight's breathing method to level 5. Now, a basic body training method of Ji Luo has used up 155 points of my source power. There are beginners, there must be intermediate, advanced, and top. I don't know how much source power is needed to be enough, and I don't know how many lives will die under my hands. Will felt warm all over his body. As long as Will moves his mind, his whole body will make a sound like crackling fried beans. According to Rep, this is a symbol of the extremely high level of physical exercise. Even Lei Pu himself has not reached this level. Will rolled up his clothes, exposing his chest. The dark green lines on the heart had completely disappeared. This shows that the toxin in the black stock solution has been completely excreted by Will. Unfortunately, the 30-year lifespan limit will not disappear. The toxin that causes poisonous lines on the body is an impurity in the black stock solution, which is not needed to become a demon hunter. The most poisonous and most essential part of the black stock solution will be absorbed into the body through Ji Luo's primary body training method, and penetrate deep into the muscles and bone marrow. Only when you become a third-class demon hunter can you get rid of the 30-year life limit. Will took off his sweat-stained clothes and put on clean clothes. My stomach growled, thinking. Ordinary people need to take the black stock solution for 3 years before they can transplant the flesh and blood of monsters. If you have a good talent in body training, it only takes 1 year. Will smiled confidently, using my Luo's primary body training method and Wei's disinfection method. The two methods eliminate toxins at the same time, 20 black stock solution, each with 7 or 8 drops. I can do 1 drop a day, 20 tubes of black stock solution, a total of about 150 days, about 5 months? Will thought. Even if it is a genius, it will take a year to transplant the flesh and blood of a monster. He only had it for 5 months. Is it too fast? Would it be too spooky? What if it is too eye-catching and makes others suspect? Are you slowing down on purpose? Will thought about it in a blink of an eye, and immediately denied this idea. 30 years of life. After becoming a demon hunter, if you can't break through to the third-class demon hunter, you can only live to be 30 years old. 30 years is really too short. Will is now 15 years old, that is to say, Will's life has passed half of it. The normal process is to take the black stock solution at the age of 15, transplant the flesh and blood of monsters at the age of 18, become a first-class demon hunter at the age of 20, become a second-class demon hunter at the age of 25, and become a third-class demon hunter at the age of 30. Time is too tight. Moreover, the difficulty of becoming a third-class demon hunter is several times that of an advanced second-class demon hunter. Therefore, it often takes 10 years to advance to the third class. If I become a second-class demon hunter before the age of 20, then I will have enough time to prepare for the third class. Will leaves the study. At the dining table, under Tracy's command, the servants brought up the dishes one by one. Pork, mutton, beef, fish soup, green vegetables. 17 dishes are lined up on the table, and each dish is served on a large plate. This table of food is enough for 30 people to eat. Crack, click, click. Will didn't even spit out the bones, picked up the food with both hands, and kept stuffing it into his mouth. Will was like a storm, but after a while, all the food was wiped out. The servant serving on the side looked at Will in surprise. I don't understand how Will eats food that is bigger than his body. Some people's eyes were still on Will's stomach, and there was a thought in their hearts that they wanted to poke Will's stomach with their fingers. After Tracy asked the dining table to be cleared, she sent everyone away. Trish stayed alone in the hall. Will lay on the chair, Will's belly bulging. The stomach is so distended that Will can't see his feet anymore. Will squinted his eyes and adjusted his breathing. From Will's body, tiny but extremely crisp sounds continued to be heard. A wave of heat gushed out of Will. Will's whole body, every acupuncture point, began to emit greasy, black, and viscous sweat. After 3 full hours, Will's body returned to its original state. Prepare the bath water, and let someone clean up the place. Will's face was flushed and his skin was shattered. There was a gleam in his eyes, and there was excitement in his eyes that couldn't be concealed. My strength has actually increased by another 5 levels. Chapter 35. The sky was covered with thick clouds. The drizzle was drizzling, and under the subtle blowing, it fell obliquely. It was only 6 o'clock, but it seemed to be late at night. All over Castle Albert, oil lamps were lit. Inside the castle, in a room filled with various medicines. Grunt grunt grunt. Under the roasting of the flame, the dark green liquid in the clay pot is constantly bubbling. An unpleasant smell filled the room. You go out first. Will ordered. Yes, master. The 2 men who had been fighting in the room, upon hearing Will's words, hurriedly left the room as if they were pardoned. As soon as they walked out of the room, the 2 immediately coughed violently. Hearing the coughing sound outside, Will shook his head. The refining process of the black stock solution is also quite dangerous. The smoke produced when refining the black stock solution, if inhaled too much, will also cause damage to the human body. Will's eyes were fixed on the hot, bubbling dark green liquid. There are fewer and fewer bubbles. Until no more bubbles. After 30 breaths, Will picked up a cup of red liquid. Red leaf juice. Will swirled the red leaf juice along the pot and poured it into the boiling liquid. Then hold the thin stick in your right hand and stir the liquid quickly. At the same time, the left hand continuously sprinkled some white fine powder into the liquid. The liquid dwindled, and when there was only a third left, Will poured the contents of the pot into a white gauze bag. Squeeze hard. The dark green liquid flowed out from the gap in the gauze and flowed into the glass tube prepared in advance. A large pot of liquid, in the end only a small black stock solution was obtained. Did you make it? Will looked at the black-green liquid in the glass test tube, which was still steaming. Will brought the mouth of the test tube close to his nose, and a pungent and unpleasant smell immediately rushed into Will's nose. Cough cough cough. Will quickly removed the glass tube. The black stock solution should be tasteless, maybe it's because it hasn't cooled down yet? Will tentatively poured a drop on his tongue. In an instant, the entire tongue was numb. Will felt the liquid in his mouth spit out, and took several large glasses of water to sip, until his tongue regained a little feeling, and he was relieved. There are a lot of highly toxic substances in the raw materials of the black stock solution, so be careful in the future. Will poured out the failed black stock solution. I don't know where Uncle Rip went, he hasn't come back for so many days. On the second day after arriving at the castle and handing Will the body training method and the method of refining the black stock solution, Rep entered the Red Moon Forest. Before going, Rep asked Will carefully about the four-armed ghost ape. Is it because you are a demon hunter? So you are very interested in monsters? Will guessed, it's just that Rep is not here, and Ji Luo's primary body training method is okay. Can't make it. Materials, steps, time, Will did as Rep said. But it still failed. Will wants to find someone to solve the puzzle, but the only one who can answer, Rep, is not in the castle. The servant called the two men outside the door to clean the pharmacy. Will goes out for air. Will was lying on the window, the cool rain brushed against Will's face, covering Will's face with a thin layer of water droplets. Will looked into the depths of the Red Moon Forest. In his eyes, countless black shadows were swaying, like countless roaring ghosts. Those are just ordinary trees. There is not much danger in the Red Moon Forest, so there is no need to worry about Rep's safety. Will tapped his finger on the windowsill lightly. The chaos in the territory has been calmed down, and the night training base is almost built. The preparations for Ye's wedding have also begun, all that needs to be done now is to wait. As long as the time is up, everything will happen naturally. Master, it's packed. Behind Will, two men in grey and black robes stood respectfully. Two men, one named Reese and the other named Gwen. It was collected by Will, and he helped when refining the black stock solution. In fact, the two played very little role in refining the black stock solution. Will mainly wants to train the two and let them learn the knowledge of medicine. In the past, there was only one pharmacist in the Albert family, or in the entire Lent town, and that was Grandpa Barry. It's a pity that Grandpa Barry was old and unfortunately died in the last rebellion. The only pharmacist is gone. What should I do when I see a doctor in the future? Will's medical knowledge is not inferior to that of Grandpa Barry, and Will can completely replace Grandpa Barry. But Will has no time. Arranging medicinal herbs, brewing plasters, and helping people in Lunt Town to see a doctor, everything takes a lot of time. Will has so much to do. Will's time is really tight. But Lunt couldn't live without a pharmacist. Therefore, Will chose two honest, hard-working, knowledgeable people who are interested in pharmacy to teach them pharmacy knowledge. Reese, you go first. After Will's roll call, Reese stepped forward nervously. Tell me about the medicinal properties and effects of Houtunia cordata. Zinco has a bitter taste and mild medicinal properties. The juice has a slight effect of stopping bleeding and removing blood stasis. It is a necessary material for many kinds of hemostatic plasters. Scale grass. Ichthyrosis, which grows in damp and dark places, has pointed and long leaves with jagged edges. The juice after mashing can effectively relieve symptoms such as coughing and itchy throat. Reese, Gavin, and Will each smoke 10 commonly used drugs for investigation. Each of them can be clearly answered by both of them. It seems that both of them have worked hard behind the scenes. Will nodded in satisfaction. Understanding the properties of medicines is only the most basic knowledge. How to handle and store medicines, how to use and choose medicines, these are the most important things. Master Will said so. Will took out 2 sheets of paper and gave one to each. Here are 2 prescriptions. You should study them carefully. After 2 days, each person should write an opinion, no less than 3,000 words. Will ordered. The 2 nervously took the prescription, with joy in their eyes. Master Will. A servant ran and shouted Will's name from a long distance away. Will frowns. Speak slowly. The servant ran up to Will, gasping for breath, and it took a while before he spoke. The servant pointed at the gate of the castle with trembling hands, Sisi, far, Sibi, far. Due to being too nervous, the servant's words were intermittent and extremely unclear. Still, Will caught it. Will's face changed slightly. Four-armed ghost ape? The servant nodded quickly. Will got up, jumped out of the window, and swept towards the gate of the castle. Will's speed was extremely fast, and he stood on the 5-meter-high city wall all at once. Master Will, that's right there. On the city wall, a guard pointed to the distance and said fearfully. Four-armed ghost ape. Will's eyes were cold. Although the four-armed ghost ape killed not many people. Not even a tenth of those who died as a result of the rebellion. But the fear caused was far greater than the rebellion of the three knights Vaden, Nisan, and Grote. In the castle, except for a few people such as Will and Baron Leo, most people's feet trembled when they heard the word four-armed ghost ape. Now, the devilish four-armed ghost ape has come again. In the distance, in the drizzle, a figure more than 2 meters tall, humanoid, but with 4 arms, was walking towards Albert Castle. The footsteps were slow, but shadows enveloped the entire castle. Master Will, what should we do? The guard cried. Knight Bob is dead, and Knight Warden, Knight Grote and Captain Nisan are, also, only you and the Baron are left. A month ago, including Will, a total of 6 knights barely managed to kill a four-armed ghost ape. Now, only Will and Baron Leo are left. Will, are you sure again? Baron Leo also received the news, came to the edge of the city wall, and stood beside Will. It's just in time. I'm just looking for someone to try my current strength. Today, Will practiced Ji Luo's primary body training method, his whole body strength has almost doubled, and his combat power has doubled several times. Will is confident that he can easily kill the four-armed ghost ape. The only thing I don't know is how easy it is. Will jumped off the wall and rushed in the direction of the four-armed ghost ape. Baron Leo followed behind Will. On the city wall, the guards screamed. Will's speed was very fast, and he was less than 10 meters away from the figure of the four-armed ghost ape. Hey? Will looked at the four-armed ghost ape suspiciously. Why are the four-armed ghost ape's eyes closed? There is blood at the corner of the mouth? The legs are obviously not shaking. Why are they still moving? Will, have you come to meet me? Rep's figure came from the four-armed ghost ape. Will looked and looked carefully, only to find that the four-armed ghost ape was actually being carried away by Rep. Because it was near night and it was raining, I didn't see it clearly. Will went up to meet him and said in surprise, Uncle Rep, did you kill this four-armed ghost ape? At this time, Baron Leo also arrived. Baron Leo looked at the scene in front of him in shock. A man who was blind in one eye and didn't look too strong, actually carried a dead four-armed ghost ape on his back? Baron Leo has personally experienced the strength of the four-armed ghost ape. Even knowing that Will has become a great knight, Baron Leo is not very sure that Will defeat the four-armed ghost ape. But at this moment, a four-armed ghost ape died. Killed by a friend that Will brought into the castle a few days ago. Will, who is this? Baron Leo stared blankly at Rep. This is Rep, a demon hunter. A few days ago, Will had introduced Rep to Baron Leo once. It may be that Baron Leo is old and forgetful. So Will introduces it again. Are you a demon hunter? Baron Leo breathed heavily. Demon hunters are characters that only exist in legendary stories. When Baron Leo first heard Will's introduction, he thought Will was just joking, but he didn't expect it to be true. Rip, he's really hunting monsters. Master Lipu, please come in. Baron Leo's attitude towards Lipu immediately changed. When the three of Will returned to the castle, the road was crowded with people. All the people in Albert Castle came out, stood in the rain, and looked at Lipu who was carrying the corpse of the four-armed ghost ape. Everyone here still has the fear of the four-armed ghost ape deep in their hearts. Today, someone could kill a four-armed ghost ape by himself. Lord Rip. Long live Lord Rip. Master Rip is amazing. I don't know who is the leader. Immediately, everyone around cheered loudly. Chapter 36. Will and Rip entered the study. Baron Leo warned everyone not to approach the study, not to make loud noises near the study, and personally guard the door of the study. Where did you hunt another four-armed ghost ape? Will asked impatiently as soon as he sat down. In the Red Moon Forest, near the Deadwood Swamp. Rep replied. Will frowned, and said fortunately, I didn't expect there to be a second four-armed ghost ape. Fortunately, Mr. Lipu took care of it, otherwise, the consequences would be disastrous. Although Will is no longer afraid of the four-armed ghost ape. But will the four-armed ghost ape definitely attack Albert Castle? What if it was an attack on a village? What about attacking other territories? What about attacking Orion? When the solution to the four-armed ghost ape is found, it is estimated that it has already caused incalculable losses. When Will felt relieved, Rip's next words exploded in Will's mind like a bomb. Isn't it normal for four-armed ghost apes, which live in groups, to have a lot of them when you find one? Lei Pu said in a very flat tone. What? Will patted the table and stood up, eyes full of disbelief. Four-armed ghost ape, that kind of terrifying creature, actually lives in groups? Absolutely impossible. Unbelievable. In the entire province of Doria, before Will, there was only one great knight. Even in the entire Cairo Empire, great knights are rare. Now Rep told Will that in the Red Moon Forest, there lived a group of four-armed ghost apes with the strength of great knights. Reason told Will that this was false and impossible. But the opponent is Rep, a witcher, and just carried out the corpse of a four-armed ghost ape that had just died from the Red Moon Forest. Will had to accept reality. Will collapsed on the chair, limp and paralyzed. I just became a great knight and practiced body exercises. I thought that with my strength, even if I couldn't walk sideways, my life would be safe. Result. Just in the Red Moon Forest, only tens of kilometers away from Will, lived a group of four-armed ghost apes with the strength of great knights. No matter how strong Will is, facing a group of big knights, he will die. How can monsters like the four-armed ghost ape live in groups? Will was puzzled. Will was terrified. It seems that you are confusing monsters and monsters. Rep said. Is there any difference between the two? Will wondered. Will originally thought that monsters and monsters were different names for the same creature. Like pigs and dolphins, dogs and canines. Warcraft refers to powerful animals. Some have magical powers, and some don't. Except for being extremely powerful, Warcraft is essentially no different from ordinary animals. As for monsters, every kind is born with magical power. Every kind of monster has wisdom no less than that of human beings, and is the old enemy of human beings. Explained Rip. Will thought for a moment about the action patterns of the four-armed apes he had encountered. The IQ of the four-armed ghost ape is indeed much higher than that of ordinary animals, but it is still far from that of humans. It's natural for you to have this kind of doubt now. If you were born 10,000 years ago, you wouldn't think so. Rep took a sip of red wine. There are many kinds of monsters, each of which has powerful. The strength and the wisdom of every monster are no less than that of humans. Therefore, in the distant ancient times, the world was ruled by monsters. Humans are to monsters what goblins are to humans, weak and helpless. Until the first demon hunter appeared in human beings. Countless battles broke out between humans and monsters, large and small, and countless talented talents died. Only at a young age of 10,000 did they successfully defeat the monsters and become the overlord of the mainland. The remaining monsters can only hide in remote places to survive. Many have even broken the inheritance. Because you haven't received a systematic education, so you behave like a beast? Will understood a little bit. Same IQ. If one of them is thrown into the pack of wolves, it will grow up to be just a smart wolf. The other grows up through normal studies, maybe he can get into 985 and 211. After graduation, he will enter the top 100 in the world, become a CEO, win by fume, and reach the pinnacle of life. Moreover, people's IQ can be improved with acquired learning. You don't have to worry too much about the four-armed ghost ape. Since nothing major has happened for so many years, as long as you are careful in the future, there will be no problem. Lei Pu comforted. I hope. Will's eyes flickered, obviously still worried about the four-armed ghost ape. Sure enough, the most lacking now. It is strength. Can the flesh and blood of the four-armed ghost ape be transplanted? Will asked suddenly. Why do you ask this question again? Rep was speechless. Theoretically, the flesh and blood of every kind of monster can be fused, but you have to know that the fusion of different monsters' flesh and blood not only has different difficulty of fusion, but also obtains different abilities. The same. In the Jalo school of potions, there are 3 mature and systematic monster flesh and blood for people to integrate into. After being fused with the flesh and blood of monsters, the explosive earth bear can greatly increase its strength, defense, and speed. When it advances to the 3rd class demon hunter, it will also have the opportunity to obtain the natural ability to protect the earth. Lei Hai Bao, which greatly increases the speed. When advancing to the third-class demon, there is a chance to awaken the talent thunder and lightning. Night demon eyes can be used as a telescope, you can see life energy through walls, and you can see things at 360 degrees without blind angles. Each one is extremely powerful, safe, and reliable. Much better than the four-armed ghost ape. Is it true that the stronger the monster is, the more the strength will be improved after fusion? Will's eyes widened. Rep didn't expect that Will was paying attention to this point after he said so much just now. However, Rep patiently explained to Will, "Do you know why we drink the black stock solution? Because the flesh and blood of monsters will corrode our bodies, we need the toxin of the black stock solution to resist the erosion of the flesh and blood of monsters." Will replied. "Then do you know why the lifespan of our demon hunters is limited to 30? Rep asked again. "Because the toxin of the black stock solution will penetrate into our bone marrow and muscle, shortening our lifespan." Will still remembers such important information clearly. "Then you should know that toxins are all about dosage." "What do you mean?" A flash of light flashed through Will's mind, and Will seemed to understand something. "The more powerful the fusion of monster flesh and blood, the more black stock solution you need to drink, and the shorter your lifespan. If what you fuse is the strongest, the flesh and blood of a giant dragon, you need so much black stock solution, enough to make people die suddenly on the spot. And the flesh and blood of the three kinds of monsters, the explosive bear, the thunder leopard, and the night demon eye, from the Cairo Potion Academy have been improved and prepared by wizards for countless years, so that the amount of black stock solution required for fusion is greatly reduced. If you fuse with a four-armed ghost ape, you will only have a lifespan of 30 years, but your strength is far inferior to a person who fuses the flesh and blood of three kinds of monsters. Knowing this, would you still choose to fuse the flesh and blood of the four-armed ghost ape?" asked Rip at last. Will shook his head. "If the fusion is not the flesh and blood of the three monsters from the academy, what is the lifespan at the same strength? 20 years old." Will fell silent. Will had already made a decision in his mind. "The one you want to merge with should also be the ground bear, right?" Rep saw through Will's thoughts. "Integrating the flesh and blood of the ground bear, it is the most comprehensive and has no shortcomings. Lei Hai Bao, although the power of lightning after awakening is desirable, the probability is too low. Night demon eye is purely auxiliary. But I still want to deal with the four-armed ghost ape. If I don't deal with them, I feel uneasy." Will is still unwilling to give up. 5 days later, I will enter the four-armed ghost ape and look for the lair of the four-armed ghost ape. If you are interested, you can come with me to learn and accumulate experience." After thinking for a while, Rep said to Will. "Really?" Will asked in surprise. "Together is fine, but when exploring, you have to follow my command, can you do it?" Rep said solemnly. "No problem." Will nodded. The conversation is over. After Rep left, Baron Leo walked in. "Master Lipu is really a demon hunter?" Baron Leo asked impatiently as soon as he entered. "As a demon hunter, I have heard many rumors and stories." In reality, this was the first time Baron Leo had seen him. "That's right." After getting confirmation from Will again, Baron Leo took a deep breath. "Will, I didn't expect you to know such a big man as Mr. Lipe. In the future, you must serve Mr. Lipe well and never provoke him." Baron Leo warned. "I will. I don't know how strong Lord Rep is?" Baron Leo's voice dropped suddenly. Will thought about it and said, "Paladin." "Ah!" Baron Leo's eyes jumped, and his mind went blank. Baron Leo knew that Rep was very powerful, and he could kill a four-armed ghost ape alone, at least at the level of a great knight. But paladins? A paladin that hasn't appeared in the Cairo Empire for hundreds of years? Baron Leo did not consider this possibility at all. In fact, Lipa's strength is more than a paladin. 10 paladins may not be able to beat Lipe. But for Baron Leo, who doesn't know magic power, wizards, or distinguish between monsters and beasts, paladins are more convincing. It's like a friend wants to do something and asks you to tell me about the difficulty. If you directly say why don't you go to heaven, others will not have an intuitive feeling. Just a deadpan "oh." And if you say set a small goal first and earn him 100 million, the other party will be very desperate to feel the difficulty of the matter, and will give up decisively. Your strength has improved so fast, did you get Mr. Lipo's advice? Baron Leo nodded self-consciously, what do you plan to do with the corpse of the four-armed ghost ape? Didn't I say it was handed over to you? We discussed it and planned to make a specimen. What do you think? Nice. In fact, after killing the four-armed ghost ape last time, it was planned to make a specimen of the four-armed ghost ape and put it in the castle hall. But that just killed too many people in the castle and caused too much damage. After killing the four-armed ghost ape, what people felt was not pride and joy, but fear and sadness. So in the end, the four-armed ghost ape was burned at the funeral of Bob Knight and used as a tomb for Bob Knight. But this time is different. The four-armed ghost ape was killed by Lei Pu alone. People regard Lep as a hero, and killing the four-armed ghost ape is Lep's great achievement. Therefore, Baron Leo and the others decided to make a specimen of the four-armed ghost ape and enshrine the four-armed ghost ape to show the might of the Albert family and Rep. Chapter 37. 5 days later. In a sealed room in Lent Town, it was steaming and smoky. With a solemn expression, Will picked up a ceramic pot filled with dark green liquid, and poured the dark green liquid into a clean white cloth bag. Squeeze the bag firmly. Put the dark green liquid flowing out from the gap of the cloth bag into a glass tube container. Will brought the mouth of the glass tube to his nose, but there was no smell. Will dripped another drop of the solution into his mouth, and there was a faint tingling sensation on his tongue, but it was not very obvious, a bit like peppercorns. It finally worked. Shaking the liquid in his hand, Will smiled. When refining the black stock solution some time ago, there were no problems with the materials, steps, and techniques, but no matter how hard Will tried, he couldn't make a qualified black stock solution. After asking Rep, Will knew the reason. The reason is simple. The temperature is unstable. Ordinary boilers have uneven temperature distribution, so no qualified black stock solution can be produced at all. Since a qualified stove could not be built in Albert Castle for a while, Will came to Lent Town. After having a qualified stove, Will successfully refined a qualified black stock solution in less than 5 days. Will walked out of the room. He told the 3 servants who were waiting outside, open the window, ventilate for 3 hours, and then rinse the room carefully with water. During this period, no one should be allowed to approach. Remember, you must wear a mask and gloves when cleaning. Poisonous mist will appear when refining the black stock solution. Even a knight would feel ill if he breathed it. Will was also able to stay in the poisonous fog because of the black stock solution, which contained extremely strong toxins in his body. Will returned to the room, changed his clothes, and took the tools he had prepared. Riding a steed, he walked towards the Red Moon Forest. About half an hour later, Will came to the edge of the Red Moon Forest, and there were 2 people sitting under the shade of a willow tree by the river. One looked about 40 years old, with disheveled hair, an eye patch over his left eye, and an accomplished overcoat. The other person was about 50 years old, with a thin build, dark skin, and sunken eye sockets. Uncle Rip, who is this? Will stepped forward. He is an experienced hunter I invited. Rep said. Master, my name is Mick, and I am very happy to serve you too. Orion Mick saluted Will. Mick? The next thing Will and Rip are going to is the lair of the four-armed ghost ape. Even the knights may not be able to survive, a little hunter? Mick saw Will's mistrust. Mick raised his chest and said to himself, Masters, since I entered the Red Moon Forest with my father at the age of 7, it has been 41 years. In terms of familiarity with the Red Moon Forest, no one in Lent Town can compare. I found Mick, and it will be useful, said Rip. Now that Rep has spoken, Will can't say anything. Will, Rep, and Mick entered the Red Moon Forest together. Mick led the way, Will in the middle, and Rip in the rear. In the lush forest, the 3 of them were like 3 small black dots, moving slowly among the giant trees and vines. As the 3 continued to deepen, Mick started to stop frequently, sometimes to make marks, sometimes to lie on the ground to listen to things, and sometimes to put feces on the ground into his mouth. Rep seemed to be very interested in Mick. Along the way, he kept chatting with Mick, and the 2 kept discussing the knowledge of adventure hunting. For 3 days, Will listened to it and felt that it benefited a lot. Will could intuitively detect that Rep's experience and skills were far superior to Mick's. Along the way, the conversations between Rep and Mick were actually for Will. The purpose is to let Will understand the hunting adventure from shallow to deep. So that's why you brought Mick? Will was moved. This day, in front of a swamp, Mick stopped. Here, the miasma begins to appear. Looking from a distance, the miasma is getting thicker and thicker, like a thick fog, covering the front. Ahead is the Deadwood Swamp. After passing the Deadwood Swamp, you will reach Banya Mountain. After taking you here, my mission is over. Mick looked at the front with a serious face. It may not be easy to cross the Deadwood Swamp, Rep said. Masters, I advise you to stop here. Mick expressed good intentions. The Deadwood Swamp is too dangerous. There are less than 10 hunters who are sure to cross the Deadwood Swamp in the whole month. Aren't you one of those 10 people? Rep took out a money bag. Here are 20 gold coins. If you are willing to take us across the Deadwood Swamp, all these gold coins will be yours. Grunt. Mick stared at the bag in Rep's hand with greedy eyes. Mick raised his hand and put it down with difficulty. It's not difficult for me to cross the Deadwood Swamp alone, but I want to bring 2 people together. Mick smiled wryly and shook his head. Masters, to tell you the truth, I really want your money, but whether it is for the sake of my own life, it is still too, I advise you to give up. Is the Deadwood Swamp so dangerous? Will asked on the side. The Deadwood Swamp is dangerous, but if you want to cross it, there is still a way, but Mick's tone suddenly became awe-inspiring. I wonder if the 2 masters have heard of Not Half Crimson? Crimson less than half? Rep looked at Will, who was also confused. It's actually very simple. It literally means, go deep into the Red Moon Forest and never cross the Half Moon Mountain. Mika explained. That is why even Will, this is the first time he heard such a statement. Mika grinned, and squeezed out a few words between his yellow teeth, because, everyone who went to Banya Mountain died. They're all dead? Will was startled. Not a single one survived. At the end, Mitya added, there were a few knights among them. In Mick's heart, the knight is already extremely powerful. Even if Will and Rep are nobles, have practiced breathing techniques, and become knights, going to Banya Mountain is just looking for death. But what Mick didn't know was that Will and Rip were not just knights. We have to go to Half Moon Mountain. I don't have so many gold coins with me. Rep took out a dagger inlaid with gems. If you are willing to take us through the Deadwood Swamp, this dagger belongs to you. Mick's eyes stared straight at once. Mick took the dagger with trembling hands. Mick's eyes did not look at the gems inlaid on the dagger, but at the blade. Varian steel? Mick took a deep breath. Only the blade is made of Varian steel, but it's worth several hundred gold coins. Rep said. Are you sure to give it to me? Mick held the Varian steel dagger tightly, with a desperate expression on his face. For us, it's nothing more than a dagger, Rep said. Okay, but I will only take you through the Deadwood Swamp, and you can go the rest of the way by yourself, right? Mick said firmly. We are in a hurry and must cross the Deadwood Swamp within today. Rep added. Mick looked up and glanced at the sky. It's about 10 o'clock. The golden sunlight fell piecemeal from the gaps in the leaves to the ground, turning into spots of light and imprinting on Mick's resolute face. Okay, it's a deal. Mick seemed to have made a huge determination. Make a deal. Rip smiled and shook Mick's hand. Uncle Rip? Will looked at Rep puzzled, not understanding why Rep did what he did. Bringing a hunter who doesn't even have a quasi-knight, no matter how good the hunting experience is, it's just a burden. Rep gave Will a meaningful look in his eyes, without explaining. Will, Rep, and Mick set off again. Mick is indeed one of the hunters who knows the Red Moon Forest best. Along the way, Mick led Will and the others to avoid dangers and beasts. Without Mick leading the way, Will and the others might have been attacked more than a dozen times. But without Mick, Will and Rep let go of their strength and moved forward without hesitation. At noon, the two had already passed through the Deadwood Swamp. And now, it's 5 o'clock in the evening. Deadwood Swamp is only 2/3 gone. Mick pointed to a large swamp in front of him. This is the Swamp Crocodile Pond, the habitat of giant swamp crocodiles. It is 2 kilometers wide. As long as you cross this large swamp, you will be able to see Banya Mountain. There's no place to stay here? Will asked. See those trees? Mick pointed to the sparse trees in the swamp. There are many vines connecting each tree. We can climb the vines to cross this swamp. Will took a look. Sure enough. Although the trees in the Swamp Crocodile Pond are very sparse, there is only one tree at a distance of tens of meters. But all the trees are entwined by countless vines, covering the entire Swamp Crocodile pool like a giant net. Mick led the way and climbed a tree. The bark of the tree is damp and rots. Be careful, there are not only crocodiles living in the swamp crocodile pool, but also countless miasmas. If a person falls, it will corrode and melt away. Mick warned. I'll talk about this later. The snake caught in the hand is all right? Will asked. On these rotten giant trees, countless bugs and birds inhabited. Along the way, the three of Will were covered with bugs of all sizes. Although Mick said that the bugs were not poisonous, the feeling of countless bugs crawling on his body still made Will extremely sick and uncomfortable. Snake? Mick looked down and saw that he had mistook a snake for a vine and caught it. It was a green snake with the thickness of a finger, about the same as an ordinary green snake. Mick froze for a moment, and suddenly his face changed drastically. Green snake. Mick shook his body and quickly threw the snake in his hand. Ah! Mick screamed and fell into the swamp holding the hand bitten by the green snake, and his whole body was submerged in the swamp. Mick! Will reacted a little slower. Will's feet were clamped on the branches, his body was hanging down, his hands went deep into the swamp, and he didn't hold Mick's hand until his arms were completely submerged in the mud. Will pulled up hard. Unexpectedly, when the hands tightened, they couldn't move. Will pushed harder. Wow! A rosy white human body was pulled out by Will at once. Mick was covered in blood, and there were small sissy whimpers from his mouth. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Will immediately retched. Chapter 38. Rep shot and helped Mick end his painful life. Watch Meek sink into the swamp, swallowed by the ooze. Will turned his head and looked at Rep angrily, and said in a deep voice, "You've already thought of this kind of ending, haven't you?" Rip insisted on taking Mick again and again, and Will didn't understand at first. Now, the mystery is solved. A poor man who failed to recognize his own strength and was devoured by greed. Lay Pu showed pity. "You bastard!" Will punched Rip hard. But Will's fist was easily caught by Rip. That was the ending that Mick himself chose. When he agreed to my request, he had already made up his mind. Now, he just lost the bet. Rep didn't have a trace of guilt on his face. "Are you still human?" Will's body began to flash white light. "Without you, Mick could still be a hunter and live well for 10 or 20 years, but you. I gave him a choice. It was you who seduced him, and you who led him to a dead end. Maybe, but the world is so cruel. That's not your reason for doing evil. Is what I did, in your eyes, evil?" Rep smiled sarcastically, "Then what are you? Lured by me, a poor bastard who walks on the road that he knows he will die?" Will froze. "What's the difference between you and Mick now?" Rep pressed every sentence, "You have great strength, a beautiful fiancé, and a bright future, so why did you step into the world of demon hunters? Stepping into this world of 10 deaths and no life? Tight because it's fun? Then have you thought about it? You are dead, your family and friends, your beautiful fiancé, what to do?" I. Will was speechless for a long time. Do you want to end up like Mick? At least, Mick still knows what he wants most, and why he died. How about you? You've been clamoring to get stronger and stronger since we've known each other. Become stronger at all costs. Your talent is indeed beyond my expectations. For a 15-year-old knight, it takes 5 days to learn other people's basic exercise method in 2 to 3 months, and it takes others a year to refine the Blackstock solution. You will succeed in 5 days. With such a genius, you can have countless choices, but why choose this road full of thorns?" Rip looked closely at Will, waiting for Will's answer. Will was silent for a long time. "I want to explore this world, I want to understand this world, I want to know." Will took a deep breath. "Who am I? Where am I? Where should I go?" Will comes from a world of blue. But are those memories real? Is this world real? Am I really me? Will was terrified. Fear of yourself, fear of the world. Will wants to know, understand, explore this world, unravel the mystery of this world, and uncover the reason why he came to this world. And go home. Rep sighed, patted Will on the shoulder and said, "Mick is dead, but Mick has you to miss him, has you to make up for him, and you will take care of his family. But what if you die? Remember, the world of wizards is extremely dangerous, and only by surviving can you be qualified to know the truth. Demon Hunter Rule 1, never act on your will. Demon Hunter Rule 2, never do anything you are not sure about. Demon Hunter Rule 3, never put yourself in danger. Will felt Rep's good intentions for him. Mick's death really stimulated Will deeply, and Will also hated Rep deeply for a moment. But what Rep said was unreasonable. Isn't the current Will just another Mick? Mick is dead. After Will returns, he will compensate Mick and take care of Mick's family. Mick can rest in peace too. But what if Will died? Friends and family wives, get better? I'm just reminding you now, don't think too deeply. Lipe pointed forward, our goal now is Banyu Mountain, the four-armed ghost ape, isn't it? Haha, that's right. Will pulled out an ugly smile. It's getting dark, and we've only walked a quarter of the way through the swamp crocodile. Rep raised a finger, how about we have a competition? See who can cross the swamp crocodile first? Contest? If you win, how about I give you something you're sure to be interested in? Will's eyes lit up, are you sure? Haha, you can't win anyway. No comparison, how do you know? If it's an ordinary rush, will definitely not compare with Rip. But now it's on swampy ground, climbing and walking through trees and vines. Will still thinks there is a little chance of winning. Anyway, it's okay to lose, why not try it? Ambitious. Rip gave Will a thumbs up, and jumped off the tree. Under Will's surprised gaze, Rep's feet stepped on the swamp. Ah! Will closed his eyes in horror, fearing that Mick's scene would repeat itself. But Rip is no Mick. Since Rep dared to jump, he must be sure. Sure enough, Rep was not engulfed in silt. Under Lipo's feet, a deep pit with a diameter of half a meter, much larger than Lipo's soul, appeared. Rep walked forward bouncing on the swamp, and glanced back at Will, showing a smug smile. Will's face froze. Looking at the huge footprints under Rep's feet, Will didn't know how Rep did it. Will once heard that it is possible to walk on swamps by nailing wooden boards on the soles to increase the bearing surface. But it was the first time Will saw Rip doing this. Do you think you are sure to win? A thought came to Will's mind. In the previous life, some scientists have studied it. If a person's running speed can reach 110 km per hour, the force generated when the soles of the person's feet contact the water surface is enough to support the person to walk on the water surface. With Will's current strength, the limit burst can reach hundreds of speeds per hour. Because the time is too short, it is not enough to run long distances on the water. But walking on swampy ground does not require hundreds of speeds at all. Will squatted down on a thick branch, and his muscles began to swell, bursting his hunting suit. Especially the legs, the muscles are like steel. Will is 1.9 meters tall, with strong and graceful muscles like a cheetah, exuding a different kind of beauty. Will bent over, lowered his hands, and made a starting posture for a 100-meter sprint. Ha! Legs jerked mana. Click! The thigh-thick branch suddenly broke and flew backwards. Will's body jumped forward, and his feet stepped on the mud. Will's feet turned into afterimages. Every time Will stepped on the foot, there would be a violent roar. Flocks of birds were startled, chirping and flying towards the sky, colorful, covering the entire sky. The loud noise woke up the sleeping crocodiles in the swamp. The crocodile rose from the depths of the mud, looking at Will with eyes as big as fists. Behind Will, countless mud splashes. Hoo. Will kept breathing heavily, exhausting his physical strength rapidly, but his speed was only about the same as the walking speed of ordinary people. Is it too hard to walk in the swamp mud? Even running on rough roads, a bunch of people were injured and had accidents. Not to mention that what Will is running now is swamp and mud, which is countless times more difficult than dirt roads, gravel roads, and mountain roads. Just walking on the swamp is so difficult, what if it's on water? Will felt that he was still a little exaggerated. I'm going to do my best. The distance is only 1 or 2 kilometers. If you speed up, you should be able to reach the destination before your physical strength is exhausted. Will began to stimulate life force. White light enveloped Will's body. Will started to speed up. From the walking speed of ordinary people, it accelerated to the running speed of ordinary people. In fact, Will can run faster, but in that case, his physical strength will be exhausted, and he may be exhausted before he crosses the deadwood swamp. At that time, let Rep see the joke for nothing. Will passed Rip. Will walked on. Ahead, something like a rock moved towards Will. When there was still 100 meters away from Will, the reef stopped. A bloody mouth opened towards Will, and the ferocious sharp teeth radiated a cold light. It turned out to be a huge crocodile with a body length of more than 10 meters, and its huge mouth was as high as a floor. The crocodile waited with its mouth wide open. Will looked as if he had walked into the crocodile's mouth. Die. The white light attached to Will's right hand like substance. Will put his fingers together, using his hand as a knife. A knife cut on the crocodile. Tear. The 10-meter-long crocodile was cut in half by Will from head to tail. Will stood over the dead crocodile, wiping the sweat off his face. Will looked unwillingly at Rep, who passed him and left him far behind. If I hadn't met a crocodile. Will glanced around, and there were already a dozen crocodiles gathered around, attracted by the smell of blood. Although it was much smaller than the crocodile under Will's feet, it was also nearly 10 meters long. Although Will is strong, if he is bitten by a crocodile, with the crocodile's terrifying bite force and death roll, Will not die but will also be disabled. In desperation, Will gave up the idea of continuing to run on the swamp. Will grabbed a vine on the side, and with some force, his body swayed, and his body swayed to a tree more than 10 meters away. No more threats from Will. A dozen crocodiles immediately rushed towards the dead crocodile carcass. When Will came to the other side of the swamp alligator pool out of breath, Rep had been waiting there for a long time. Don't be discouraged, it's beyond my expectation that you can walk on this kind of silt. Don't worry, everything will be yours, and I will give it to you when I go back. Lei Pu laughed. That's what you said. It is a fool not to take advantage of it. After resting for a while, Will raised his head and looked at the curved half-moon-shaped mountain not far away. Is that Half Moon Peak? Chapter 39. The red moon forest stretches as far as the eye can see, and the green ocean stretches for thousands of miles. In a cluster of low playgrounds, there were two people who were covered in mud and covered with dead branches and leaves. Each of the two held a telescope and looked into the distance intently. After waiting for a long time, the vision finally changed. A black ape with 4 arms and a height of 2 meters came out of the mud of the swamp. The 4-armed ghost ape looked around vigilantly, and after finding that there was no danger, he jumped up and disappeared into the jungle. The 31st time. Rep stood up. Let's go. Where are we going next? Will asked after Rip followed. Rest. Ah. The preparations are almost done. 3 days later, we officially entered the lair of the 4-armed ghost ape. Rep said. Really? A whole month. He didn't change his clothes, didn't take a bath, ate raw meat, and became a savage for a month. This life is finally coming to an end. Will, how many 4-armed ghost apes do you think there are? Rep asked. About 30? Will said uncertainly. You guessed right. The number of 4-armed ghost apes is indeed about 30. Then can you tell me how you came to this conclusion? Rep asked. Because in this month, we found a total of 31 traces of the 4-armed ghost ape. Will answered honestly. Rep shook his head with a disappointed expression on his face. We have been observing and lurking around Banya Peak for a month, and what we did was not useless. We know that the lair of the 4-armed ghost ape is underground. We observed that the 4-armed ghost ape comes from the ground to the ground, and there are 3 exits. 1. At Half Moon Peak. This exit is rarely used by the 4-armed ghost ape. In the past month, we only found 2 4-armed ghost apes coming out of this exit, and they just walked around and went back to the cave. 1. In the Deadwood Swamp. This exit is the most frequently used one. We found 25 4-armed ghost apes at this exit. The last one is located 11 kilometers behind Half Moon Peak. This exit is the most secretive, and we have observed 4-armed ghost apes in total. Rep explained to Will one by one the information he found after searching for a month. We found 31 traces of 4-armed ghost apes. Do you know how many 4-armed ghosts there are? Rep asked. Will shook his head. From Will's point of view, every 4-armed ghost ape looks the same, and they cannot be observed closely. Who can tell which one is which? There are 6 4-armed ghost apes in total. So little? Not a lot. The 4-armed ghost ape mainly lives underground, and only occasionally comes to the ground to hunt for food. Walking, Will and Rep came to a low cave. The two bent down and walked in. Opening the package, he took out a kettle and a few pieces of dried meat, and the two started eating while talking. Uncle Rep, can't we go straight in? The 4-armed ghost ape is only at the level of a great knight. The 2 of us are enough to match them. Will really had enough of a month of savage life. Will, even if it's me, if hundreds of four-armed ghost apes swarm up, I can only run away. Rep explained, and the monsters are not as simple as you think, in case there are some powerful wizards among them, we both have to die here. Will thought about it, and thought so too. Even though Will's strength is far superior to that of ordinary great knights, if dozens of knights swarm up, Will can't stand it. Where do we enter the four-armed ghost ape's lair? The underground cave of the four-armed ghost ape has 3 entrances. The one at Half Moon Peak is too tightly guarded, and it will be discovered if you are not careful. The one in the Deadwood Swamp, the cave is located under the swamp silt, it is extremely difficult to walk. There is only one choice. You don't want to go through those 3 entrances, do you? Rep said. No. Of course you dig the entrance yourself? But, should. Before Will finished speaking, Rep picked up a dead branch and drew on the ground, while still muttering some unconscious words. Like the living habits of the four-armed ghost ape, the distribution of soil quality, the growth of trees, the flow of underground rivers, and so on. Will can understand a little bit at first. At the back, Will was stunned. Under Lei Pu's hands, a 3-dimensional map slowly took shape. This is a picture drawn with the information we have collected over the past month. Rep pointed at one of the points with a branch. Here, digging down can lead directly to the underground lair of the four-armed ghost ape, and it is quite secretive, absolutely it will not be discovered by the four-armed ghost ape. Will scratched his head. Will couldn't understand, how did Rep collect so much information in this month? Will has been by Rep's side all the time? When Will was extremely depressed, Rep took out 2 big bottles. A bottle of red liquid and a bottle of black plaster. This is a plaster made from the hair of the four-armed ghost ape. For the next 3 days, we will apply this plaster on our bodies every day. What about this bottle? Will pointed to another bottle of red liquid. For the next 3 days, we can't eat anything, we can only drink this bottle of water diluted with liquid. Lei Pu explained, these 2 things can make us infect us with the breath of the four-armed ghost ape. On a dark and stormy night, Will and Rip were standing in a dark cave that barely fit one person. Rip jumped first, followed by Will. After sliding in the narrow cave for about a minute, the 2 finally landed. The 2 of Will came to a dark and damp cave. It was dark and silent. Boom! Rep held 2 cold fluorites in his hand and tapped them lightly. Every time the 2 pieces of cold fluorite collide, there will be traces of green light, and the light is fleeting. In this faint light, Will and Rip groped forward in the cave. Da-da-da! In the cave, only the sound of footsteps echoed. Ahead, there is endless darkness. Drip, drip, drip. In addition to the sound of footsteps, there was another sound in the darkness. It was the sound of gravel rolling. Will walked quickly to Rep's side, his body was next to Rep, and whispered, "There is a situation." "Fine." Rep snapped back and walked on. Will frowned, looking around anxiously. Will also pulled out a pair of cold fluorites. Bang! A slight touch. Cold fluorite emits a faint light. This ray of light was so weak and appeared for such a short time that even with eyesight as strong as Will, he could barely see the scene a meter away in front of him at the moment when the bright light appeared. What? Will knocked the stone a few more times in succession. Will was surprised to find that there were several black shadows swaying under his feet, like trees swaying in the wind. But there is no wind here, and there are no trees. What the hell is that? Will looked up at the sky, and there was only darkness in his eyes. There must be something up there. Will watched above. Will quickened his pace while tapping the cold fluorite quickly. At first, besides his own shadow, under Will's feet, there were several other shadows swimming fast. Gradually, Will found that he couldn't see his shadow anymore. A huge 8-legged shadow enveloped Will's figure and appeared at Will's feet. The light faded, leaving Will cold. A huge spider, just above Will. Will stood still, not daring to move. Will stretched out his right hand to the long sword at his waist, closed his eyes, and listened carefully with his ears, ready to strike the strongest blow at any time. Rep pulled Will suddenly. "We are now the four-armed ghost ape, the overlord of this underground world." Will was taken aback for a moment, and then he was on guard, and followed Rep with his head down. However, Will has not let down his vigilance. Will could feel it all the time, several pairs of cold eyes stared at him all around, and the shadow of the octopus was always shrouded under his feet. Snapped! The soil under his feet suddenly hardened. The curbs changed from soft and rough dirt to hard, flat curbs. At the same time, Will felt that the vision falling on him disappeared, and the shadow of the spider that had been covering him was also gone. "Be careful, we have entered the city where the four-armed ghost ape lives," Rep whispered in Will's ear. "Yes, not lairs, but cities." Will touched both sides of the passage, and found that this passage was made of huge stones, and it was definitely not formed naturally. IQ comparable to humans? For the first time, Will had a clear understanding of monsters in his heart. From this moment on, Rep also became cautious. Rep took off the blindfold on his left eye, exposing a golden vertical pupil to the air. Just being watched by the vertical pupil, Will felt an inexplicable pressure covering his body. Not only his action and reaction became slow, but also a feeling that all his thoughts had been seen through. This is the real eye of the magic tool, which is sealed with the ability to simulate a dragon, and the created witchcraft real eye can see night as day and see through falsehood. Rep's left eye, the eye socket turned out to be metal. The golden vertical pupils in the metal eye sockets turned left and right, as if they were not controlled by Lipu. Walked cautiously for another 10 minutes. Rip stopped. Rip leaned his ear against the wall. Will does. Will heard a faint sound, but didn't know what caused it. "The front should be a room of a four-armed ghost ape, we have to be careful." Rip's left hand covers Will's head. Will's eyes suddenly felt a sting, and at the same time, his eyes could see quite clearly in the dark. "This is?" Will rubbed his eyes in surprise. "Let's go." Rep didn't explain. Rep led the way. Sure enough, it didn't take long before they came to a huge room. Inside the room, there was a large pile of bones, most of them belonged to animals, and many of them belonged to humans. Will didn't expect that there were still sheep in the room. The two four-armed ghost apes sat facing each other, communicating in a language Will couldn't understand. One of the four-armed ghost apes pulled a sheep casually, twisted off the sheep's head with a click, and put its mouth close to the broken neck, gurgling and drinking the gushing blood of the sheep. After drinking the sheep's blood, he thrust his four fingers against the sheep's head, lifted it, and skillfully opened the sheep's celestial spirit cover. The white and tender sheep brain like tofu flour is exposed. Will's eyes were cold, and a surge of anger welled up in his heart. When they kill, that's how they kill, right? Will remembered that among those who died tragically at the hands of the four-armed ghost ape, some of them were known to Will. This kind of creature shouldn't exist in this world at all. In Will's heart, the four-armed ghost ape had already been sentenced to death. "One for each," said Rip in a low voice. Will glanced at the four-armed ghost ape on the left who was sucking the brains of a sheep, and said in a murderous tone, "I'm in charge of the one on the left, and you are in charge of the one on the right. Quick battle, don't disturb the other four-armed ghost apes." Lei Pu squatted down. After 3 beeps, do it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. 2 vigorous figures rushed out at the same time. Chapter 40. It's day. The weather is fine, the sun is shining, and there are blue waves in the Red Moon Forest. And in the underground world under the Half-Moon Peak, it was dark, cold and damp. Will and Rep turned into dark hunters, moving in the dark cave, constantly hunting and killing the four-armed ghost ape. One by one, 4 armed ghost apes were killed by the 2 men. Will decapitated a 4-armed ghost ape with 1 blow of his sword. Will's breath was messy, and sweat was beaded on his face. Obviously quite tired. The 27th. The number of 4-armed ghost apes who died under Will's hands has reached 27. Must speed up. Here is the lair of the 4-armed ghost ape, the world of the 4-armed ghost ape. Once the 4-armed ghost ape finds Will and the others will fall into a passive state. Moreover, there are a large number of ghost-faced spiders here, and some of them can even reach the level of knights. We've been shopping for 4 weeks, and next, it's at the bottom of Half-Moon Peak, the most central location. Rep looked at Will worriedly, "Do you want to take a rest?" "No." Will rejected Rep's offer, "We must not let a 4-armed ghost escape." "Why do you insist on killing all the 4-armed ghost apes?" Lei Pu was puzzled. Originally, Rep just planned to explore the lair of the 4-armed ghost ape, but under Will's repeated persuasion, Rep began to carry out the 4-armed ghost ape annihilation plan together with Will. "I can't sleep peacefully with so many scary and powerful monsters right next to my house." "That is it. How do you think the saying that Crimson can't reach the mountain came about? As long as the 4-armed ghost ape exists for a day, Banya Peak will be a forbidden place for people. I understand how you feel, but Rep reminded Weldao, next, we will face the final enemy, the four-armed ghost Ape King. The strength of the Ape King must be extraordinary. You must be careful. Aren't you here? Will has great trust in Rep's strength. During the few hours of attacking the four-armed ghost ape, in order to achieve a one-hit kill without disturbing other four-armed ghost apes, Will must do his best every time he makes a move. But even so, there were still a few misses, almost allowing the four-armed ghost ape to escape. In the end, it was Rip who helped. Will's current strength is indeed the best among the great knights, but the four-armed ghost apes are not weak, each has the strength of a great knight. Therefore, it is inevitable that Will occasionally miss. But also because he shot with all his strength every time, Will consumed a lot, and now Will's physical strength is only 1/3 left. I don't know how strong the four-armed ghost ape king is. Will was a little excited. Until now, none of the four-armed ghost apes Will met was Will's opponent. Ape King, should be stronger, right? Will and Rip quietly moved towards the room of the Ape King. After a few turns, a glimmer of light appeared ahead. Isn't the four-armed ghost ape fond of the shadows and afraid of light? And this is underground, how can there be light? With doubts, the two moved on. It's just that the steps are easier. Near. Will and Rip both touched the door and hid outside the door frame. In the room of the Ape King, there was a deep hole that went straight to the ground. The hole is 10 meters in diameter. The walls of the cave are smooth and damp, covered with ivy. Yang Guan shot in from the entrance of the cave, fell into the room, and shone on the Ape King. There are four-armed ghost apes in the room. One has white hair, is tall, and wears a crown of ivy on his head. An ordinary four-armed ghost ape is only 2 meters tall, but the king ape is 3 meters tall. The other three were much taller than ordinary four-armed ghost apes. Although they were not as tall as the Ape King, they were still about 2.5 meters tall. Four-armed ghost apes are worshipping towards a broken stone altar. The altar is located directly below the entrance of the cave, with simple red patterns painted on it, which are simple but reveal an ancient and mysterious feeling. Around the altar, there are green vines and branches around the waist. The roots of the tree took root in the broken altar, which made the altar, which was already broken, take another step towards complete disintegration. That altar is something like a holy place for the four-armed ghost ape, right? Why don't you clean it up? Instead, let the altar be so dilapidated? Will asked in a low voice. Don't know. Even the well-informed Lei Pu didn't understand what the four-armed ghost ape did. However, now is the best opportunity. Rep smiled cruelly. Rip took off the blindfold. Rep and Will said that the use of the magic weapon, the Eye of Reality, consumes a lot of magic power, especially in battle, so it can't be used easily. This time, it was the first time Will saw Rep in battle and took off the blindfold. Could it be that Rep is going to do his best? Will expected in his heart, how strong is the third-class demon hunter? Rip's golden left eye was shining with gold. A huge and heavy coercion was released from Rep's left eye, and the coercion enveloped Will and pressed on the four-armed ghost ape. Ah! The four-armed ghost ape found Rep. Rep's body swelled, turning into a sharp sword and slashing at the nearest four-armed ghost ape. Along the way, every time Rep took a step, there would be a loud rumbling sound, and at the same time, 2 deep footprints appeared on the huge paving stone under his feet. Even from afar, Will could feel the ground trembling. How much power does it take to create this vision? Will stared at Rep's back with fiery eyes. Lei Pu took 3 steps and 2 steps in parallel, and almost instantly, he came in front of a four-armed ghost ape. Although it is not the Ape King, this four-armed ghost ape is also extremely powerful. The forearms of the four-armed ghost ape stretched out all at once, like 4 steel rods, binding Rep tightly. Then give it a hard twist. Even a giant mammoth will be broken into several pieces under this twist. But in the arms of the four-armed ghost ape, Lei Pu turned against the guest. Rep grabbed one arm of the four-armed ghost ape with one hand, showing a ferocious smile. Do you think you caught me? Under the terrified eyes of the four-armed ghost ape, Lei Pu used his hands hard to tear off the 2 steel-like arms of the four-armed ghost ape. Broken arms, blood spattered. Amid the wails of the four-armed ghost ape, Lei Pu grabbed the head of the four-armed ghost ape with both hands, twisted it hard, and the four-armed ghost ape rotated 180 degrees, and died. Humanity! The Ape King hammered his chest with forearms and roared angrily. Will was startled by the roar of the king of the apes. The ape king can actually speak human language? Will became more and more determined to exterminate the four-armed ghost ape. Human beings are enough to have intelligent life in the world. But in the next few roars of the ape king mixed with the word human, Will understood. The ape king can't speak human language. That human being is just the ape king's name for the human race. Leave the ape king to me to deal with. As he said, Lipe rushed towards the ape king. The remaining two four-armed ghost apes wanted to help the ape king, but were stopped by Will. Will pulled out the night sword and said excitedly, "Finally we can have a good fight, I hope you don't let me down." The two four-armed ghost apes looked at each other and rushed towards Will at the same time. Will trusts Lep very much, and believes that Lep will be able to kill the ape king. But why didn't the other side think so? They also trust the ape king, and believe that the ape king will be able to kill that human being, and their task is to stop Will so that Will cannot interfere with the battle. Armor of Radiance. Will's body was covered with white light that condensed like substance. It was the first time Will used the shining armor since he became a great knight. My current physical strength is 1/3 of what it was in my heyday. The armor of brilliance can only last for 5 minutes. I must fight quickly. Will thought about the way to fight. When Will was thinking about countermeasures, a four-armed ghost ape jumped directly above Will. The casserole-sized fists with limbs turned into countless fist shadows and enveloped Will. There are skills? While Will was amazed, he was not slow to start. The night sword in Will's hand met the fist of the four-armed ghost ape. Bang bang bang! Every time Will blocked, his body took a step back, and at the same time, his body sank a little. But when Will took 5 steps back, the depth of the footprints had already covered Will's ankles. Will's hands were weak, and with every attack of the four-armed ghost ape, the feeling of weakness in his hands became more and more obvious. Invincible. These two four-armed ghost apes are much more powerful than Will imagined. Their strength is really too strong. The strength of each blow is tens of thousands of catties, which is comparable to my full blow. If we continue to fight head-on, I will definitely lose. Will took a false step, swayed past the four-armed ghost ape, and retreated quickly to the left. Another four-armed ghost ape rushed towards Will. With an indomitable momentum and immense strength, it looks like an elephant with a speed of 100 per hour is making a quick charge. Will's expression changed drastically. The speed is so fast? Hundreds of speeds per hour, even Will can only burst out briefly. They must also erupt in an instant, as the saying goes, as long as I snapped. Will was overtaken by the four-armed ghost ape and slapped him flying. Will's body quickly skimmed the ground, the root formed an arc, flew upwards, hit the wall, and sank in. Will hung on the wall with a trace of blood in the corner of his mouth. Under the slap of the four-armed ghost ape just now, Will's shining armor was broken, and the huge force of the four-armed ghost ape injured Will's internal organs. Two four-armed ghost apes, one on the left and one on the right, attacked Will. It seems that I have to be serious. Will squinted his eyes, and his body was once again shrouded in the armor of brilliance. Push your feet back. Will leaps from the wall and into the air. Let me teach you what fighting is. Two four-armed ghost apes jumped up and rushed towards Will, who was in the air one after another. In mid-air, unable to use his strength, Will twisted around to avoid the attack of the first four-armed ghost ape. Will stepped on the shoulder of the four-armed ghost ape, kicked hard, and flew towards another four-armed ghost ape. It's like acrobatics. Facing the four-armed ghost ape who had no strength in the air and moved slowly, Will smiled cruelly. Let's take you first. Will raised the night sword in his hand, and hot white light radiated from his body. The first, A black shadow the size of a fist pierced the air and hit Will on the back. You're up. Will opened his mouth to spurt a stream of blood. Throwing stones. The wisdom of the four-armed ghost ape is beyond Will's imagination. Mean. Will's body lost control. Seeing the fist getting closer to his cheek, Will made a difficult gesture in the air that is universal in the world. Thing top. Pause. Boom. The four-armed ghost ape's fist made an intimate contact with Will's face.